Chapter 2254 Neo will battle. Chapter 2254 Neo will battle. Ta was far too arrogant, and this enraged all of the cultivators from the celestial realm. However, he was indeed powerful, so most people could only stare daggers at him in futility. This was because accepting his challenge would be akin to seeking death. "I'll go!" Another person from the celestial realm stepped forward. She was as beautiful as peach blossoms, yet as aloof as frosty ice. It was surprisingly Ran. She was a supreme monarch, and she was also the disciple of Shang Jiwei. As such, she naturally had the right to enter the Saintly Origin Academy, so appearing in this place was also understandable. However, what made Ling Han gloomy was the fact that she had also advanced to the fifth secret. The past 1,000 years were a time when monarchs soared. This was because the ninth heaven celestial kings had ignored all expenses as they provided an endless stream of cultivation resources, giving these prodigies the best possible cultivation environment. As such, the monarchs naturally ascended in leaps and bounds, further widening the gap between them and the emperor tiers and king tiers. Nie Hashan's assertion that Ling Han had abandoned something important to take something unimportant had indeed been a fair observation. It was just that no one knew that he had obtained the Origin Magic Cube. This was something far more important than a measly few minor levels. Die! Ta showed no mercy as he attacked. Ran humphed coldly, and she channeled numerous celestial techniques as her hands danced in the air. Her battle prowess was astonishing. She was a supreme monarch, someone who stood in the upper echelon of all monarchs. She was far more powerful than the youth who had preceded her. However, Ta was truly powerful, and he was clearly no weaker than Ran. He didn't dodge or evade her strikes, and he instead chose to clash with her head-on. Everyone was engrossed in watching the battle. To the celestial realm, each battle was of utmost importance, as winning once could bring 10,000 years of peace. Moreover, it could also raise their morale. After all, they had lost far too many times before. Ran was indeed powerful, and she was no weaker than Ta. However, the cultivators from the celestial realm all had an Achilles heel. They could only lock a limited amount of regulations in their bodies, an amount that was far smaller than cultivators from the foreign realm. Because the foreign realm was the invading party, they would start learning how to lock more regulations in their body from a very young age. Otherwise, what right would they have to invade the celestial realm? How could they hope to achieve victory? Ran was no weaker than Ta, yet she had never specifically trained to increase her capacity to hold regulations before. In the celestial realm, such training would be a complete waste of time and effort. However, the birth of the neutral zone finally allowed the cultivators from the celestial realm to truly recognize the power of the foreign realm. 8 hours into the battle, Ran finally showed signs of struggling. Solemn expressions spread across the faces of the cultivators from the celestial realm. One had to realize that Ta had already fought a battle before this, yet he was still brimming with the power of regulations. This was truly terrifying. By doing battle in this neutral zone, it was as if they had gifted an advantage to the foreign realm instead. Another 30 minutes passed, and Ran had already lost all ability to attack. She had no option but to admit defeat and retreat. Fortunately, her battle prowess was no weaker than Ta's, so Ta had no opportunity to threaten her life. They had lost another battle. "I'll go!" The third challenger from the celestial realm stepped forward. It was none other than He. He didn't say any more, and he immediately unleashed a flurry of attacks after charging onto the platform. This was a sparring match, so the use of treasures, decrees, and so on was all banned. Otherwise, it would be a battle of resources instead of a battle of personal strength. "Give me your head!" Ta roared with a loud laugh. He swung his blade-like arms, and numerous symbols pulsated with raging killing intent. Another intense battle ensued. He had started from a lower cultivation level than Ling Han, but he had also advanced to the fifth secret now. This caused Ling Han to involuntarily feel gloomy. Presumably, everyone from the Alliance had already reached the fifth secret. Only he remained at the second secret. even though he was unfathomably powerful as a second secret elite. He was even more powerful than Yan Xianlu, and his freakish talent was no less than that of An Ran. In turn, he was no weaker than Tu Ta. The battle between them was intense and furious. After battling for 6 hours, both the human and the insect displayed signs of fatigue, with their battle prowess starting to gradually decrease. Even though Tu Ta had locked more power of regulations in his body, he was finally reaching his limit after battling against 3 monarch tiers in a row. However, the cultivators from the foreign realm were far too familiar with doing battle in such a state, so under the same condition of exhausted power of regulations, Tu Ta had special methods to slow down the consumption of his power of regulations. He was forced to admit defeat. 3 defeats in a row. After successfully completing his task, Tu Ta left the platform and vacated his position for someone else. The cultivators from the celestial realm all wore ashen expressions. Under the condition of having similar battle prowess, prodigies from the foreign realm could battle against 3 prodigies from the celestial realm. Their stamina was far too terrifying. Fortunately, they were the defending party. If the foreign realm attacked the clear heaven pass, they wouldn't need to worry about the weakness of not having enough power of regulations. Ha ha ha, it's mine, Wuling's time to shine now, another prodigy from the foreign realm said as they walked onto the platform. He was a humanoid, with a pair of wings and a long tail. However, he also had a pair of horns protruding from his head, and his skin was crimson like blood and densely covered with symbols. Who's going to battle against me? He roared, with his voice booming like thunder. This was another 5th secret monarch tier. There were naturally young prodigies from the celestial realm who stepped forward to accept his challenge. However, the problem still remained. They couldn't gain an advantage in terms of battle prowess, and their stamina was also clearly inferior. That being the case, how could they hope to achieve victory? 3 young monarch tiers accepted his challenge one after another, and only then was Wuling's stamina finally depleted. However, they were still unable to achieve a single victory for the celestial realm. Fretful and anxious expressions appeared on the faces of the cultivators from the celestial realm. Were they going to continue losing like this? Nyo, a battle! Hunyo couldn't help but jump forward. A young girl with delicate skin and tender flesh. I'm going to gobble you up. You're definitely full of nutrients. The opponent was an emerald green insect. He looked like a grasshopper, yet his strength was surprisingly great. He had already defeated a 5th secret monarch tier. Without speaking another word, Hunyo directly swung her small fists. Ling Han smiled in his mind. With a single thought, a wisp of mystical power instantly crept into Hunyo's body, elevating her battle prowess. Pun! Hunyo unleashed her might, and she instantly gained the upper hand. She was already a supreme monarch tier, and it was only because she hadn't come across enough opportunities that she hadn't cultivated 9 divided souls in the dividing soul tier. However, this imperfection still couldn't conceal her immense power. One had to realize that she had cultivated a secret realm of time. In fact, all 5 of her secret realms were secret realms of time. She possessed the greatest eternity immortal physique, and she had the ability to manipulate time. Her battle prowess was most likely at a level between Supreme Monarch tiers and Monarch stars, so she could have actually gained an advantage even without Ling Han's help. Pun pun pun! Her battle instinct was extremely powerful, and once she gained an upper hand, she would firmly hold onto it with both hands, rapidly transforming this advantage into victory. The insect from the foreign realm was both furious and astonished. His opponent clearly wasn't a monarch star, so why could her battle prowess let her suppress him? She was measly trash from a super low-level dimension, so how was she more powerful than him, a monarch tier? However, this was the undisputed reality, and the insect from the foreign realm had 2 of his legs brutally snapped by the young woman. He had no option but to admit defeat. Otherwise, he would have been mercilessly dismembered by Hunyo. They had won! The cultivators from the celestial realm all cheered in delight. They had finally won a battle. They had finally achieved this extremely difficult feat. Hunyo placed her hands on her hips and said in a delicate voice, "Who's next?" It's best if you have some flesh. Neo doesn't like to eat insects. Her words infuriated the cultivators from the foreign realm. It had only ever been them who had eaten the cultivators from the celestial realm. Now, however, this young woman was actually saying that she wanted to eat them. How could they not be infuriated? Who's going to defeat this piece of weak trash? They all shouted. However, the cultivator who had been defeated by her was already a prodigy among the fifth secret monarch tiers, so finding someone even stronger than him was almost an impossible task. By the looks of it, they could only rely on their monarch stars. The mighty figures from the foreign realm were also slightly reluctant about this. They wanted to comprehensively shatter the morale of the celestial realm, so they naturally had to achieve crushing victory in each different level. By actively deploying a monarch star first, wouldn't they be somewhat admitting the strength of the celestial realm? In fact, wouldn't that be admitting inferiority? Chapter 2255 Low Morale. Chapter 2255 Low Morale. However, if they didn't deploy a monarch star, how could they suppress Hunyo? A humanoid being stepped forward. Even though his skin was crimson red, it was decorated with thin golden trails that radiated with an air of might and dominance. Xian, he said as he pointed at himself. He glared at Hunyo, and he didn't conceal his surging killing intent at all. Girl, come back, a mighty figure from the celestial realm said to Hunyo. Xian was a monarch star, so she couldn't face him head-on. Otherwise, her fate would be certain death. Hunyo had initially been unwilling, but upon hearing Ling Han secretly telling her to retreat, she pouted her lips and retreated to the side. Afterward, this would be a stage for monarch stars, one in which even monarch tiers didn't have the right to enter. Of course, this was unless they possessed a significant advantage in terms of cultivation level. The Rain Emperor was the first to step forward. The two monarch stars immediately unleashed their full strength to clash with each other. One of them was at the sixth secret, while the other was at the sixth layer of the eighth lotus. Their cultivation level was identical, yet the Rain Emperor was the one with the superior battle prowess. The Rain Emperor was a genuine cultivation prodigy, and his battle talent and ability were inconceivably freakish. Add to that the celestial Tao physique that he had obtained, and his battle prowess was naturally even higher. It wasn't long before he gained the upper hand, and completely suppressed Xian Tuesday. This elicited thunderous cheers from the celestial realm. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the foreign realm fell quiet. Were they going to lose 2 battles in a row? More importantly, both of these losses were against opponents at the same cultivation level. This was a huge blow to their morale. The foreign realm was higher in level than the celestial realm, so in a battle against someone at the same cultivation level, they should have possessed an advantage. Xian unleashed all of his abilities, yet facing the fist technique of the Rain Emperor, he had absolutely no chance to turn the tables. He was continually pummeled, and one of his arms was evenly violently torn off. However, his counterattacks could barely leave any marks on the Rain Emperor. This was because the Rain Emperor could transform into the flow of time. It was as if he existed in the past, yet it was also as if he existed in the future. As such, how could he be wounded? If the other party wanted to wound the Rain Emperor's celestial physique, he needed to possess a noticeable advantage in cultivation level. That's enough, an elite from the foreign realm said. However, the Rain Emperor completely ignored him. As long as his opponent still stood on the platform, he wouldn't relent a single bit. I told you to stop, the elite from the foreign realm said in rage, reaching over to grab at the Rain Emperor. Hey, this is a battle between yous, so why are you trying to interfere? A mighty figure from the celestial realm said as they reached over to block the elite from the foreign realm. Pun! The elite from the foreign realm was instantly sent flying. Just then, a celestial king from the celestial realm had called for an end to the first battle, yet an elite from the foreign realm had stepped forward to interfere. Now, the exact opposite was happening. At this moment, it was as if the cultivators from the celestial realm had ingested a top-notch celestial pill. They felt as euphoric as could be. The attacks of the Rain Emperor didn't stop, and half of Xian body was utterly mangled and destroyed. However, A monarch star was a monarch star, after all, and he ultimately managed to escape. They had won another battle. The cultivators from the celestial realm were beside themselves with delight. It had already been too long since they had witnessed such a satisfying victory. The foreign realm remained silent for a moment before sending forth a new competitor. Sinluo. Not only was he a monarch star, but he was more so a supreme freak at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. This was equivalent to a 10th secret elite. The Rain Emperor attacked, yet the gulf between the 6th secret and the 10th secret was far too great. He was sent flying with a single strike, and if it weren't for Ling Han's secret help, he would have definitely been killed in an instant. Proud expressions returned to the faces of the cultivators from the foreign realm. Perhaps the Rain Emperor was powerful, but they had even more powerful prodigies. Everything would be fine as long as they ultimately achieved victory. It was as if the celestial realm would definitely be defeated by the foreign realm. Sinluo possessed a towering physique. He was a humanoid, and his skin was so red that it was almost black. There was a golden horn on his head, and he also had a tail that was astonishingly long, so much so that it was like a hand. His tail continued to coil and swish around. He wore an expression of pride and arrogance as he looked toward the celestial realm, saying, "Who's coming up to die?" Whoosh! A figure materialized. It was none other than Shirchanzi. "This humble monk will battle against you," Shirchanzi said in a seemingly amiable voice. However, when he attacked, it was as if he were a demonic deity. He possessed the demeanor of the Buddhist sect's 9 lights ancient Buddha. Moreover, he was indeed powerful, and his golden body mystical power had already been cultivated to a pinnacle level. His body transformed into a golden god of battle, and when he tapped his finger for the ages, he could seemingly exterminate celestials and slay gods. Ling Han was astonished by what he saw. Shirchanzi had actually reached the 9th secret. This was incredibly astonishing. Only 1,000 years or so had passed, yet he had actually soared from the 1st secret to the 9th secret. This progress was far too rapid. However, this was still completely useless. Sinluo's cultivation level was equivalent to the 10th secret, which was an entire minor level above Shirchanzi. Moreover, who were they? They were monarch stars. They had reached the pinnacle level, a state of perfection, in each cultivation level. It was only because of this that they could enjoy the title of monarch star. That being the case, a gap of 1 minor level was naturally an insurmountable gulf. Shirchanzi unleashed all of his abilities, yet he could only wind up with a resounding defeat. He more so suffered a severe wound, with a bloody hole punched open in his lower abdomen. Hong Huang and Xiaolan stepped forward one after another, yet neither of them could escape the fate of defeat. There was nothing they could have done about this, either. After all, they were only at the 9th secret. The morale of the celestial realm fell to rock bottom. Only Xingqingyu had yet to battle, with the other prodigies completely unable to rival Sinluo. Sure enough, the next person to step forward was Xingqingyu. This was the celestial realm's final hope. Xingqingyu was tall and slender, and she had raven black hair that stretched down to her knees. She was wearing a white dress, and even though it had no decorations, she was still a beautiful sight to behold. She stood with her hands clasped behind her back, and her long hair gently flowed with the soft breeze. She was like an ethereal celestial maiden. However, Sinluo didn't appreciate her beauty at all. They were from 2 starkly different realms, so he was naturally unable to appreciate Xingqingyu's charm. On the contrary, a look of cruel bloodlust appeared in his eyes, and he said, "Female being, you're quite extraordinary. There's a hint of source power in your blood, and if I can refine you, this will bring me great benefits." In the eyes of the beings from the foreign realm, the cultivators from the celestial realm weren't people at all. They were no different from livestock. Xingqingyu simply flicked her sleeve, and she appeared as elegant as could be. "Ha ha, you're mine!" Sinluo roared as he unleashed an attack at Xingqingyu. As they exchanged attacks, the cultivators from the celestial realm finally breathed a sigh of relief. This was because Xingqingyu wasn't suppressed at all. However, in the next instant, they immediately furrowed their brows. In a battle between cultivators from the two realms, as long as the cultivator from the celestial realm didn't gain the upper hand, they would definitely end up losing. Why? Because of regulations. This was the neutral zone, where they couldn't replenish their power of regulations. Thus, whoever could lock more regulations in their body would ultimately end up being the victor. Sure enough, after battling for around 10 hours, Xingqingyu started to show signs of fatigue. This was inevitable. Regulations were the weapons of cultivators, and without them, they would be like toothless beasts. After exchanging several more strikes, Xingqingyu was forced to admit defeat. If she hadn't admitted defeat, she would have genuinely been captured and devoured by Sun Luo. What now? Even Xingqingyu had been defeated, and the celestial realm had suffered another resounding defeat. Thankfully, they had at least won 2 duels, and therefore won 20,000 years of peace for the celestial realm. Ha ha! The cultivators from the foreign realm all roared with laughter. They were brimming with prodigies, and just Sun Luo alone had been able to suppress the entire younger generation of the celestial realm. They still had Nai Yu and Wu Xian who hadn't participated yet. As for the strongest Qi Shui, he more so didn't need to participate. Meanwhile, the celestial realm was feeling stifled under a dreary atmosphere. No one was in the mood to speak. Was the gulf between the two sides truly so great? At this moment, a person suddenly walked out from among the celestial realm cultivators. He's Ji Wuming! Ha! What use is trying to be brave and stepping forward? Even Xingqingyu was defeated. Indeed. Even though Ji Wuming is also a monarch star, he's only at the same level as Shichanzi and Hong Huang. He's nowhere near the level of Xingqingyu. Even if he battles, he'll only collect another defeat for us. The cultivators from the celestial realm all shook their heads. What did it matter that Ji Wuming was a monarch star? He could only collect another defeat for them. Ji Wuming glanced at Sun Luo. Boom! A formidable aura surged into the surroundings. 10th Secret! Everyone exclaimed in astonishment. Chapter 2256 Might of Ji Wuming. Chapter 2256 Might of Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming was actually at the 10th secret. This was beyond everyone's expectations. In their eyes, Ji Wuming was only on the same level as Shichanzi and Hong Huang. In other words, he should have only been at the 9th secret. He had a chance to turn the tide for the celestial realm. However, the cultivators from the foreign realms simply chuckled coldly. So what if he was at the 10th secret? They had 3 monarch stars at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. Moreover, there was also an invincible 11th layer elite. If the celestial realm had possessed 3 10th secret elites, while the foreign realm had only possessed 1, the former could have still achieved victory through continuous battle. However, the situation was flipped around right now, so it was difficult to imagine anything other than a defeat for the celestial realm. An additional challenger would only mean an additional defeat. You're quite strange, Sun Luo said as he stared at Ji Wuming. There was a hint of apprehension in his eyes. His opponent was indeed only at the 10th secret, which was identical to him. However, standing before Ji Wuming, he felt a slight chill running down his back. Ji Wuming remained silent, and his gaze was as piercing as arrows. He was brimming with killing intent. He had fought here in his previous life, and he had done so for countless and countless years. His hatred for the foreign realm was deeply ingrained in his very being. Whoosh! He directly charged forward, swiping his palm down at Sun Luo. Sun Luo hurriedly raised his arm to block. Pun! 2 streaks of light collided. Theoretically speaking, they were both at the 10th secret, so any exchanges between them should have been evenly matched. After all, they were both monarch stars, so who would be weaker than the other? However, this was not the case. Like a paramount celestial tool, Ji Wuming's palm strike directly slammed down, ruthlessly tearing through Sun Luo's attack as if it were butter. Sun Luo was astounded, and he hurriedly jumped back in retreat. Ji Wuming pursued him, his expression ice-cold as a burning killing intent emanated from his body. It was as if he had transformed into a god of slaughter. One person fled, and one person gave chase. Sun Luo was actually no match for Ji Wuming? The cultivators from the foreign realm were all shocked upon seeing this. This was far too unfathomable. In a battle at the same cultivation level, they were actually being suppressed? That was Sun Luo, a monarch star. The cultivators from the celestial realm hadn't expected this, either. Ji Wuming becoming a 10th secret elite was already a huge surprise. However, what delighted them more was the fact that he was actually so powerful. He could suppress even monarch stars. Only Ling Han didn't find this strange. In his previous life, Ji Wuming had already been a top-notch 9th heaven celestial king. As such, his battle prowess among those at the same cultivation level was naturally astonishing. If his battle prowess had remained the same after reincarnating, then what would have been the bloody point of reincarnation? Simply put, Ji Wuming had most likely already possessed the ability to become a Heavenly Venerate in his previous life. How could such a person not be freakishly powerful after reincarnation? The cultivators from the celestial realm faltered for a brief moment before immediately shouting in joy. They could win this battle. Moreover, this was a victory against Sun Luo, a monarch star at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. Boom! 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 Ji Wuming unleashed numerous powerful attacks, and his battle prowess soared as if there were no limit. Huh! Why does he give me such a familiar feeling? A celestial king murmured. Ji Wuming's aura and appearance were extremely unfamiliar, yet there was a strange sense of overlap with a mighty figure in his memory. Oh? Brother Qing Lian, you also have such a feeling? Another celestial king remarked with a surprised expression. Has that mighty being returned? A third celestial king asked. There was fervor on his face. In the past, that mighty figure had been far too domineering. One time, he had charged into the foreign realm by himself, killing 3 17th Lotus elites and 1 18th Lotus elite. Not only that, but he had even managed to escape from the relentless hunt of a Heavenly Venerate from the foreign realm. That had significantly boosted the morale of the celestial realm. Of course, that mighty being had also paid a heavy price for this. According to rumors, his cultivation had been completely crippled, and he had then vanished from existence. It was said that he was cultivating in seclusion in order to recover his cultivation. No one knew where he was right now. However, Ji Wuming's appearance now reminded the 9 celestial kings of that mighty being. In a battle at the same cultivation level, his battle prowess was invincible. The celestial kings from the foreign realm were also astonished by his performance. Ji Wuming was far too powerful. If he continued to develop, he would definitely become a nemesis of all 9th heaven celestial kings. No, he might even ascend to greater heights and transcend above the regulations. This young man must die. That's right, we can't allow him to fully develop. Otherwise, he'll definitely become a formidable foe. They exchanged messages using their divine senses, and they were already in unanimous agreement to kill Ji Wuming no matter what. Ji Wuming was indeed powerful. After 1,000 or so exchanges, Sun Luo had already suffered broken hands and broken feet. If it weren't for the interference of a celestial king from the foreign realm, he would have failed to even escape from Ji Wuming's grasp. His life would have been ended. Ji Wuming stood still, with his hands clasped behind his back. The gentle breeze caused his robes to flutter, making him appear graceful like a celestial. Graceful yet powerful. Admiration and adoration instantly appeared in the eyes of many women, who could barely stop themselves from throwing themselves into his arms. Ji Wuming! Ji Wuming! Ji Wuming! The cultivators from the celestial realm cheered in unison. Even the ascending origin tier elites wore emotional expressions, and they willingly offered their knees to Ji Wuming. They were completely won over by him. If Ji Wuming raised his arms and called for followers, countless people would definitely be willing to join him. However, Ji Wuming didn't pay any heed to this. Instead, he simply swept a cold gaze over the cultivators from the foreign realm, and said in a baleful voice, "Next!" Humph! A woman from the foreign realm stepped forward. She was humanoid, and her skin was also red like her ilk. Similarly, she also had a tail. However, she had 3 horns on her head, and these horns were all pitch black like ink. Meanwhile, her hairstyle was as wild as could be, and each strand was much like a braid. Moreover, her wings were surprisingly only composed of a few bones, and as they flapped behind her, they exuded a mighty and paramount aura. "Na Yu!" The cultivators from the foreign realm cheered. This was Na Yu, another monarch star at the 10th layer of the 8th lotus. Wuming didn't speak, and he simply charged forward to attack. "I'll send you to the afterlife." Na Yu flapped her wings, and she shot forward like a streak of light. Pun! Wuming's fist transformed into a claw form, and he instantly sent Na Yu flying with a swipe. He immediately changed his fighting style. This completely broke up Na Yu's rhythm. When spectating Wuming's battle against Sun Luo just then, she had already attained some level of understanding of his fighting style. From this, she had then developed a tactic to target him. In fact, she had even received some secret guidance from the Celestial Kings. However, Wuming had directly changed his fighting style, and this rendered her plans completely useless. Moreover, Wuming was indeed powerful, and each of his strikes was forceful enough to make her chest boil and churn. This was an indescribably terrible feeling. She gritted her teeth and endured, yet after 1,000 strikes, she ultimately reached her limit, and had a wing brutally ripped off by Wuming. Broken bones scattered through the air, and warm blood violently sprayed through the sky. She howled in pain, and she was overcome with fury. However, what did this matter? She was directly dragged back by a celestial king from the foreign realm. If she had continued to battle, death would have been her only fate. 2 consecutive victories. Thunderous cheers boomed through the crowd of celestial realm cultivators. Even though they had achieved 2 consecutive victories before, that had been completed by 2 different people, Hu Neo and the Rain Emperor. There was no one who had achieved 2 consecutive victories by themselves. He was far too powerful. This was far too inspiring. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the foreign realm all wore solemn expressions. Losing to cultivators from the celestial realm in a battle at the same cultivation level was the most unacceptable thing in their minds. Their dimension was of a higher level, so maintaining a crushing advantage over their opponent was imperative. The celestial kings from the foreign realm also radiated with killing intent. "Should we directly deploy Qi Shui?" a celestial king asked. "No, we must achieve victory in a battle at the same cultivation level. Before this, we've already lost to that small girl and that man. We have to claim a victory. Then deploy Wu Xian. This Wuming has already fought 2 battles in a row, so he definitely doesn't have much power of regulations remaining. As long as Wu Xian drags things out, he can definitely win." "Agreed, send Wu Xian over." Chapter 2257 Qi Shui. Chapter 2257 Qi Shui. The foreign realm quickly sent forth a new challenger. It was a giant centipede that measured 300 meters in length. Each segment of its body was pitch black, and there were also blade-like spikes growing on the fringes of its exoskeleton. Just its appearance alone was enough to make one nauseous. Looking closely, there were also numerous symbols on its body. These were the regulations of poison. However, they didn't need to strike their targets, and just a glance at them would activate the effects of the regulations. Ordinary immortal Pallister elites would be immediately killed. The celestial kings on both sides immediately took action, blocking Wu Xian's regulations off from the cultivators on their side. Otherwise, it would be hard to say how many people would be killed. The regulation of poison was extremely domineering. "Wu Xian," the centipede said with his divine sense. Like a snake, a third of his body arched into the air as he breathed a cloud of black air. However, this wasn't the regulation of poison. Instead, it was the regulation of slaughter, which had materialized into a god tool that appeared powerful enough to cut the skies. Wuming remained silent yet again as he charged forward to engage in battle. Wu Xian didn't face his attacks head-on. Just then, he had already been notified by the Celestial Kings to prioritize defense. That way, he could exhaust Wuming's power of regulations and achieve certain victory. Even though he was displeased about this, he had no option but to do as he was told. After all, the gulf between him and the celestial kings was far too great. As wanton as he was, he still didn't dare to disobey them. Moreover, this battle was far too important for the foreign realm. They definitely had to win this battle at the same cultivation level. Moreover, he was the last person who could achieve this. If Qi Shui stepped forward, they could naturally win with ease. However, a victory gained by relying on his cultivation level to suppress his opponent naturally wouldn't be satisfying. It was also insufficient to suppress the morale of the celestial realm. He activated a movement technique, and did his best to evade. Even though his body was long, his agility was astonishing, and each of his legs was more so able to unleash devastating auras of slaughter. Combined with his potent poison, people could only give him a wide berth. However, his opponent was Wuming. He was a domineering being who had massacred prodigies of the foreign realm in his previous life. Today, he was even more powerful. As if transforming into a primordial heavenly demon, Wuming emanated with a boundless killing intent that churned like the sea. He finally unleashed his renowned ultimate ability. Transforming into a Vajra battle god, he completely ignored Wu Xian's attacks as he charged forward, and made a tapping motion. 1. Time be old, and the ancient be desolate. Boom! A bloody and gaping wound instantly appeared on Wu Xian's back. In fact, he was almost slashed in two. Eternity tap! Everyone exclaimed. This included several celestial kings from the foreign realm. They had suffered at the hands of this celestial technique before, and it could be said that they had suffered huge casualties. It's truly that mighty being! The celestial kings from the celestial realm exclaimed. They almost clasped their heads in surprise, and they had no care about their demeanor as celestial kings at this moment. Only Wuming was completely unfazed. Right now, he was simply intent on killing Wu Xian. His Vajra battle god state allowed him to directly ignore Wu Xian's counterattacks. Meanwhile, he continued to unleash his eternity tap, and it was as if he yearned to forcefully obliterate this heaven and earth. After just 100 exchanges, Wu Xian was dragged away, and rescued by the celestial kings of the foreign realm. Otherwise, he would have been killed. At this moment, the foreign realm fell deathly silent. This was a 1 versus 3 situation, and these were more so battles at the same cultivation level. Only they should have been able to achieve this, yet right now, a cultivator from the celestial realm had also achieved this. He was far too powerful, no. If such a person went to the foreign realm, just how powerful would he become? Meanwhile, the cultivators from the celestial realm started to chant Wuming's name again. The celestial kings were more so filled with emotion. That formidable being had truly returned. He was a staunch proponent for battle, and he was as assertive as could be. With him present, even if the celestial realm were at a disadvantage, he could still rile their fighting spirit 100-fold. We have no option but to send Qi Shui. Also, call some more people over. In a moment we're going to kill this reincarnation of that death god. The celestial realm will definitely resist, so just a few of us aren't enough. Indeed! The 9 celestial kings from the foreign realm secretly made contact, desiring to call more celestial kings over. Wuming was far too terrifying, so they had to dispose of him as soon as possible. On the other side, the celestial kings from the celestial realm also delivered news of this. They could predict that the foreign realm wouldn't let Wuming off the hook so easily, so they also wanted to call more celestial kings over to protect this reincarnation of that mighty being. In the future, he was destined to become a general of the celestial realm. The foreign realm remained silent for a long time before a man finally dashed over. With a single step, he was able to cover a boundless distance. Qi Shui! The chants and cheers from the foreign realm were thunderous. This was their true Pilara Supreme Monarch star at the 11th layer of the 18th lotus. His battle prowess had more so entered the ascending origin tier, and his strength was simply indescribable. The cultivators from the celestial realm all looked toward this prodigy. He was a humanoid, and he looked no different from the other members of the foreign realm at first glance. However, the aura that was emanating from him was far too terrifying. In fact, even monarch tiers had to prostrate before him. In the eyes of the foreign realm, this was a future Heavenly Venerate. Qi Shui peered down at Ji Wuming, and a hint of arrogance tugged at the corners of his lips. Who would have thought that there was a competent cultivator in the celestial realm? However, it's beneath me to defeat you at this moment. I'll give you 1,000 years, and we can do battle when you advance to the 11th layer. Upon hearing this, both the cultivators from the foreign realm and celestial realm couldn't help but find him arrogant. A celestial king from the foreign realm said in a cold voice, "He's the reincarnation of the War Buddha. He must be killed." Qi Shui gave a slight "Oh," saying, "You're actually the reincarnation of the War Buddha? I had yet to be born when you barged into our world at that time. I've only heard about you from others." He surprisingly didn't pay any heed to the celestial king's command, and this was indeed a reflection of his arrogance. "Now I'm slightly interested in you. Come, let's exchange a few strikes. Rest assured, it's beneath me to kill the current you. Only when you reach the same cultivation level as me will I unleash my full power." Ji Wuming didn't immediately attack this time. Instead, he looked Qi Shui up and down, and said, "You're a descendant of Qi Yan? Indeed, my ancestor is none other than Heavenly Venerate Qi Yan," Qi Shui said with pride. Heavenly Venerate. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this. No wonder Qi Shui was so powerful, and no wonder he dared to ignore celestial kings. This was because his ancestor was a Heavenly Venerate. "Qi Yan?" Ji Wuming said with a cold chuckle. A look of reminiscence flashed across his face, and he said, "He hunted me back in the day, and he left me with unerasable memories." Qi Shui roared with laughter, and he said, "My ancestor hunted you back in the day, and now it's me who's going to kill you. You trash from the super low-level dimension should give up your resistance earlier, and allow us to engulf your world." Ji Wuming didn't reply anymore. Instead, he used his actions to speak. "Worthless!" Qi Shui sneered. He replied with a punch. "Pun!" Ji Wuming was instantly sent flying, yet divine light flashed across his body. Surprisingly, he wasn't annihilated by this strike. Everyone was astounded. Just what kind of concept was the 11th layer of the 8th lotus? That was equivalent to the ascending origin tier. An ascending origin tier elite had attacked an immortal palace tier elite, yet he hadn't killed him in a single strike? Was this a joke? It could only be said that Ji Wuming was far too powerful. "Interesting," Qi Shui said, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Ji Wuming was truly heaven-defying. He was only at the 10th secret, yet he could actually muster some strength to resist him. If Ji Wuming were also an 11th secret elite, then would he have any hope of victory? Absolutely not. Qi Shui knew not about modesty, yet he had to admit that Ji Wuming was far too extraordinary. Since this was the case, he would kill him right here and now. Killing intent rose in his mind, and he completely forgot about the words that he had spoken just a moment ago. Right now, there was only a single thought running through his mind: he definitely couldn't allow Ji Wuming to take another step forward, and therefore threaten him. "Die!" he roared. He finally unleashed his full strength. Boom! Crimson light exploded from his body, dyeing the entire sky a sanguine red. Chapter 2258 Ling Han's Arrival. Chapter 2258 Ling Han's Arrival. Ji Wuming was extremely powerful, truly very powerful. In fact, he had reached a height that even past 9th heaven celestial kings had not managed to reach. However, there was still a huge gulf between the 10th secret and the 11th secret. Those at the 10th secret were still immortal palace tier elites, while those at the 11th secret could rival ascending origin tier elites. Even though Ji Wuming's strength was heaven-defying, it was still impossible for him to surmount this incredible gulf. He was immediately pushed onto the back foot, and after 100 or so exchanges, it was already clear that he was struggling. After 200 exchanges, it was only a matter of time before he would be defeated. "Let's end it here," a celestial king said as he reached out and separated Qi Shui and Ji Wuming. This time, the elites from the foreign realm didn't interfere. This was because they had already made a decision to kill Wuming once their reinforcements arrived. In fact, they would kill everyone present. They had lost this battle, yet the cultivators from the celestial realm were still ecstatic. They had suffered defeat, yet they had also obtained glory. An immortal palace tier elite losing to an ascending origin tier elite was nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, Wuming being able to withstand so many attacks from Qi Shui was proof of his inconceivable power. Once he advanced to the 11th secret, he would definitely be able to kill Qi Shui with ease. The celestial realm had a bright future ahead of it. Moreover, there was also a pseudo-monarch star like Hunyo, and there was also a rising star in the Rain Emperor. With Wuming to top them off, the younger generation of the celestial realm was no weaker than that of the foreign realm. In fact, they were perhaps even superior. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the foreign realm all wore dark expressions. Not only had they failed to lower the celestial realm's morale this time, but they had even managed to boost their confidence instead. This was truly a case of going out for wool and coming back shorn. Qi Shui wore a cold expression as he gazed at the cultivators from the celestial realm. His fighting spirit was burning, and his killing intent was almost tangible. He was incredibly pissed that he had failed to kill Wuming. He wouldn't be able to suppress his fury unless he killed a few people. "Who wants to die?" he asked coldly. No one from the celestial realm answered. Right now, no one in the immortal palace tier could rival Qi Shui. Ahem. Ling Han cleared his throat as he stepped forward. It was finally time for him to enter the fray. "Han Lin, come back!" Nye Hashan hurriedly shouted. He knew that Ling Han was a monarch star, yet he was only a measly second secret cultivator. Stepping forward was akin to seeking death. Xin Chao chuckled coldly upon seeing this. Qi Shui was powerful enough to rival him, naturally wouldn't admit that Qi Shui was more powerful than him, so Ling Han's action was indeed no different from seeking death. Although he lusted to kill Ling Han with his own hands, killing a comrade from the clear heaven pass would also cause huge trouble for him. Thus, it was best that he didn't have to act himself. The others also shook their heads. What could a measly second secret cultivator do? Even if there were 10,000 of them, Qi Shui could easily kill them all with a single press of his finger. Ha ha! The cultivators from the foreign realm roared with laughter. Even a second secret cultivator dares to step forward. Has the celestial realm got no one else to send? The super low-level dimension is indeed weak. Even a second secret cultivator dares to step forward. You! Qi Shui glanced at Ling Han before immediately cracking up with laughter. This was a measly second secret cultivator. To say nothing of using his hands, just a single glare from him would be enough to suppress this ant. Piss off! His roar boomed like thunder, and it materialized into a gigantic wave of spears. Didn't you want an opponent? I'll battle against you, Ling Han said calmly. When he said the word, battle, it transformed into a glowing golden symbol that soared toward the gigantic wave. Pun! The two collided, and the gigantic wave was instantly calmed. A look of surprise instantly spread across Qi Shui's face. He carefully looked at Ling Han and said, You're not at the second secret. Who said I was at the second secret? Ling Han said with a smile. Boom! His aura started to soar, instantly reaching the third secret. Something like this was possible? Everyone was astonished. However, a third secret cultivator still couldn't rival an 11th secret elite. This was a paramount rule of the cultivation world. The gulf between these two cultivation levels was immense and insurmountable. Still not enough? Ling Han asked with a smile. His aura shuddered, and he instantly advanced to the next level. He had advanced to the fourth secret. The onlookers came to a sudden realization. Ling Han had definitely used some kind of secret technique to conceal his true cultivation level. In reality, he was definitely at or above the 10th secret. Otherwise, he couldn't have possibly survived Qi Shui's roar. A realization dawned on someone, and they suddenly shouted, Chicken Slayer! The celestial realm had a mysterious monarch star. They had reached the 10th secret, and they had easily defeated Yamu with a single punch. However, he had vanished without a trace afterward, and no one knew who he was. Now that a mysterious elite had suddenly appeared, and seeing that it was extremely likely that he was at the 10th secret, who could he be if not the chicken slayer? Qi Shui frowned upon seeing this. Stop mucking around. I hate this type of person the most. Ling Han chuckled and said, You might hate it, but what's that got to do with me? Boom! His aura soared again, reaching the 5th secret. Die! Qi Shui was unable to tolerate this any longer, and he immediately dashed forward, throwing a punch at Ling Han as he did so. If Ling Han wanted to, he could kill Qi Shui with a single thought. However, in order to hide the fact that he was the ruler of this realm, he had no option but to reply with a punch of his own. Pun! He remained as steady as a mountain, while Qi Shui was sent stumbling back 7 steps. What? Qi Shui had actually been suppressed in a head-on clash. Not only were the cultivators from the foreign realm shocked, but even the cultivators from the celestial realm were deeply astonished. The Chicken Slayer is actually this powerful. He's not at the 10th secret, but the 11th secret. Heavens! Our celestial realm also has such a supreme monarch star. Everyone clasped their heads in shock and astonishment. How could they have imagined this? Ling Han wasn't at the 10th secret, but actually at the 11th secret. In fact, his battle prowess was even superior to that of Qi Shui. Meanwhile, Qi Shui's eyes widened in shock. He was slightly dumbfounded, and he was barely able to believe what he was seeing. His encounter with Ji Wuming had already been shocking enough. Fortunately, he had been one minor level above Ji Wuming, so he had still been able to suppress him using this advantage. This allowed him to maintain his feeling of superiority. Now, however, this feeling of superiority was shattered into smithereens. Not only was Ling Han at the same cultivation level as him, but his battle prowess was even superior. How is this possible? He was the descendant of Heavenly Venerate Thank, and the ancestral blood that flowed through him was extremely thick. Apart from fellow descendants of the Heavenly Venerate, he should have been invincible at the same cultivation level. Was this truly a fucking super low-level dimension? Ling Han roared with laughter. With a single thought, he instantly unleashed the powerful aura of an 11th secret elite. Since he wanted to ensnare and kill the celestial kings of the foreign realm, he naturally had to put on a good show. He pointed at Qi Shui and roared, Red-haired monkey, you dare to battle me? Red-haired monkey? Qi Shui instantly flared up in rage. However, he would rather battle against an 11th secret Ji Wuming than Ling Han, as this person simply spoke too much. Moreover, his words were all filled with barbs that were sharp enough to make one vomit blood before even engaging in battle. If Ling Han's battle prowess had been inferior, he could have at least destroyed him in an instant. That way, he could spare himself from the pain of listening to Ling Han's toxic nonsense. However, Ling Han's battle prowess was clearly superior, so he naturally couldn't shut him up at all. Come battle! He didn't want to speak anymore, and with a bound, he immediately charged toward Ling Han. Pun! 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 Ling Han casually exchanged blows with Qi Shui. He was the ruler of this heaven and earth, so if he battled here, even 9th heaven celestial kings would be no match for him. This wasn't a brag, it was the simple truth. However, in order to trick the foreign realm, he still acted as if Qi Shui was extremely powerful, and that he was only a tiny bit stronger. Even so, this small advantage still allowed Ling Han to quickly gain the upper hand. Gradually, this upper hand transformed into a crushing advantage. The cultivators from the foreign realm were all speechless and gaping in shock. Qi Shui was the most powerful 8th Lotus Monarch star, yet even he was unable to rival Ling Han. In other words, the remaining 8th Lotus cultivators would all be defenseless against Ling Han. No, they couldn't accept this. Qi Shui, you definitely have to win. Combust your ancestral bloodline. You're the descendant of Lord Qiyan. The cultivators from the foreign realm all shouted in unease. Chapter 2259 Full-Scale Battle. Chapter 2259 Full-Scale Battle. Qi Shui roared in rage. He didn't want to lose. At the same cultivation level, only he had the right to crush others. Boom! He truly combusted his ancestral bloodline, causing a burst of mysterious power to course through his body. This was a tremendous power that transcended the regulations. Ling Han was instantly seized by a feeling of rising discomfort. It was as if someone were challenging him. He immediately understood the situation. The power within Qi Shue's body had most likely exceeded the level of a fifth heaven celestial king. As such, it was unwelcome by this heaven and earth, which desired to quash it. However, with a single thought, he forcefully suppressed the urge of the regulations. Qi Shui had only combusted his ancestral bloodline, so Ling Han refused to believe that he could directly rival Heavenly Venerate elites. This was indeed impossible. Qi Shui's battle prowess rose several folds under the influence of this power, yet he could at most only advance from the small accomplishment of the ascending origin tier to the great accomplishment of the ascending origin tier. Even so, this was a terrifying rise of 100-fold. Ling Han also joined the act, saying, "You think that only you possess a secret technique?" With a roar, his body was instantly intertwined with arcs of blinding white lightning. "God of lightning, bestow upon me your strength!" Boom! His aura soared, and even though his cultivation level remained the same, his battle prowess rose to a level similar to that of Qi Shui's. Upon seeing this, Hunyo couldn't help but clap her hands and laugh out loud. Ling Han was truly so amusing. Meanwhile, Qi Shui was so enraged that he almost suffered internal injuries. Ling Han was definitely doing this on purpose. So be it if he activated a secret technique, but was there any need for such exaggerated shouting? "You've enraged me! You've truly enraged me!" Qi Shui roared. He shook his fists, unleashing wisps of divine light. Right now, his battle prowess could definitely rival those at the great accomplishment of the ascending origin tier. However, Ling Han was unfazed, and he continued to trade blows with Qi Shui. Both of them had unleashed their secret techniques, and both of them were unleashing their physical might. They clashed head-on, and their battle was as ferocious as could be. Ling Han became increasingly powerful as the battle dragged on, and he eventually regained his advantage even though Qi Shui had become 100 times more powerful. Moreover, this was an absolute advantage. At this moment, the cultivators from the foreign realm looked as if they had lost their parents. How was this possible? This was the descendant of a Heavenly Venerate, someone who could be regarded as an invincible monarch star. Yet, even after combusting his ancestral bloodline, he was still losing to measly trash from the celestial realm? How could they accept this? Not only were they astounded, but even the celestial kings from the foreign realm wore dark expressions. They could understand Wuming's power, but just how in the world was Ling Han so freakish? A celestial king from the foreign realm immediately lashed out. At this moment, he was in no mood to care for the rules anymore. Instead, there was only a single thought in his mind: definitely couldn't allow Ling Han to leave this realm alive. Otherwise, he would definitely become a great threat to the foreign realm. Several epochs ago, the celestial realm had produced an outstanding individual who had obstructed the foreign realm's advance with his strength alone. His actions had forced the foreign realm to spend the next few epochs stabilizing the connection point between the two realms, unable to launch any further invasion during this time. This was a world where cultivators were paramount. One certainly couldn't underestimate the influence of an elite. If given the opportunity, they could potentially overthrow the heavens. "You dare?" The celestial kings from the celestial realm naturally lashed out in reply. Ling Han had provided them with far too many surprises. As it turned out, there existed a prodigy who was even more freakish than Wuming. That being the case, they naturally had to protect him at all costs. In the future, they would also have to nurture him while sparing no expenses. One day, he would stand alongside Wuming to resist the invasion of the foreign realm. "Humph! This brat dies today!" Several more elites from the foreign realm joined in on the conflict. Not only did they attack Ling Han, but even Wuming became one of their targets. The 9 celestial kings from the celestial realm all engaged in battle, protecting Ling Han and Wuming with their full strength. Whoosh! the reinforcements from the foreign realm arrived. They were all at the Celestial King tier, and they were more so all at the 14th lotus. This was the limit of what this heaven and earth could withstand. "Where's the reincarnation of the murderous Buddha king?" an elite from the foreign realm asked as he glanced around with raging killing intent in his eyes. "Over there!" the 9 celestial kings from the foreign realm replied as they pointed at Wuming. They then pointed at Ling and said, "However, this brat is even more freakish. Even Qi Shui can't rival him." "What?" The celestial kings who had just arrived couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. This was far too astounding. "Perhaps Qi Shui didn't activate his ancestral bloodline?" they hurriedly said. "He activated it. However, he was still outmatched." The newly arrived celestial kings were rendered speechless. However, their killing intent soared, and they hardened their resolve to kill Ling at all costs. "Do you think there's no one in the celestial realm?" At this moment, the reinforcements from the celestial realm also arrived. There were 34 celestial kings in total, and they ranged from the 1st heaven to the 5th heaven in cultivation. "Call for more reinforcements," a 14th lotus elite from the foreign realm said with a humph. "Competing in the number of celestial kings? What a hilarious joke! How many celestial kings could such a super low-level dimension possess? Meanwhile, how many did they possess? They were on 2 completely different levels. Ling was still waiting. Even though there were already 37 celestial kings from the foreign realm, his ambition was even greater. He wanted to kill more. The elites from both sides were engaged in an intense battle. One side attacked, while the other side defended. "Gu Ting, you're skilled in the regulations of space, so take these 2 away first," a celestial king shouted. "Good idea," a celestial king immediately replied. His title was Gu Ting, and he was skilled in the regulations of space. He immediately grabbed at Ling and Wuming. "In your dreams!" an elite from the foreign realm shouted as they immediately dashed forward to obstruct Gu Ting. Many more celestial kings from the celestial realm stepped forward to protect Ling and Wuming, yet even more elites from the foreign realm charged forward, intent on killing the 2 of them. In the end, Celestial King Gu Ting found no opportunity to grab Ling and Wuming. Right now, the elites from the foreign realm were seemingly crazed as they attempted to kill these 2 prodigies. As a result, the celestial kings from the celestial realm had no option but to defend with their full strength. This was a ferocious battle that involved many celestial kings. In fact, more and more celestial kings from both sides continued to join the battle, causing it to become increasingly violent and ferocious. In fact, it was so intense that even heaven and earth started to tremor as if it were going to shatter. Send a few more, Ling said in his mind. At the same time, he continued to disguise himself as an 11th secret cultivator, someone who couldn't threaten celestial kings at all. The blood of celestial kings splattered through the sky. Before long, the death of celestial kings also ensued. There were celestial kings from the celestial realm, and there were also celestial kings from the foreign realm. If this were in the celestial realm, the death of celestial kings would trigger a reaction from heaven and earth, causing blood rain to fall. However, this realm was independent, so the death of celestial kings triggered no such reaction, regardless of whether the dying celestial kings were from the celestial realm or the foreign realm. Celestial king blood drenched the sky. This was a petrifying sight, with each drop of blood containing devastating powers of regulation that could easily kill a crowd of ascending origin tier elites. There were chaotic scenes, and those below the celestial king tier could only flee for their lives. In order not to expose himself too soon, Ling also chose to flee. He avoided the hotspot of the battle. However, because he was one of the triggers for this battle, how could the elites from the foreign realm possibly allow him to flee? As such, many of them followed closely behind him. He fled left and right, and he took this opportunity to draw Hu Niu and the others into the Black Tower. Meanwhile, the Rain Emperor seized this opportunity to participate in the battle. He was a natural-born fighter, and Ling was also unable to stop his second brother. Thus, he could only stay far away from him such that the Rain Emperor wouldn't be dragged into the Celestial King to battle. Of course, if the Rain Emperor truly faced perilous danger, Ling Han would naturally unleash his might earlier. In his eyes, nothing was more important than family and friends. Han Lin! A figure appeared before Ling Han, blocking his path. Ling Han was slightly surprised because this person was none other than Xin Chao. He knew that Xin Chao was jealous of him, yet to target him at such a critical moment? This person was truly as petty as could be. "What do you want?" he asked calmly. "I'm here to kill you," Xin Chao replied in a cold voice. Chapter 2260, Vile Person. Chapter 2260, Vile Person. If Ling Han had been truly at the 11th secret, he would have definitely attempted to end this conflict as soon as possible and flee. After all, each second wasted was a step closer to death. However, he was the ruler of this heaven and earth. All of the celestial kings here combined were still no match for him. Thus, he was in no hurry as he smiled and said, "Oh, why is that?" "Because you deserve to die," Xin Chao replied as he lashed out. He couldn't waste any more time. It was because the celestial kings from the two realms were holding each other back that he had this opportunity to act. However, he definitely didn't have much time. He didn't dare to let Ling Han develop. He was actually at the 11th secret. 11th secret. If Ling Han advanced another step, he would be able to rival, or even suppress him. He couldn't accept this. However, where was his confidence coming from? Ling Han had just been engaged in an intense battle, and he had more so combusted his ancestral bloodline or activated some secret technique. Thus, his battle prowess was definitely far inferior to that before. As such, this was the best opportunity to strike. Afterward, he could lay the blame on the cultivators from the foreign realm. In this heaven and earth, even the divine sense of celestial kings couldn't observe anything across a great distance. Thus, he didn't need to worry about being caught. Boom! He retrieved a weapon. This was no sparring session right now, but an act of killing someone. He didn't need to follow any rules. A precious pagoda hovered about his head. This pagoda had 7 levels, and it was snow white in color. Rays of earthen yellow light radiated from it, and each was astonishingly dense. In fact, they were powerful enough to shake ascending origin tier elites to death. Detestable thing! Exterminate this impostor! Small Tower immediately shouted. TSK, it's at it again. Ling Han shook his head. Small Tower disliked all other pagoda-shaped treasures. Die! Xin Chao lunged over, with his precious pagoda exuding a powerful aura and shooting rays of light at Ling Han as he did so. He had yet to arrive, yet a devastating pressure had already surged over. Even ascending origin tier elites would shudder in the face of this pressure. Ling Han retreated, choosing not to face this attack head-on. Xin Chao roared with laughter. This was the only time that he had ever gained an upper hand against Ling Han. He couldn't help but feel euphoric. He dashed over, throwing a punch. Imbued with the regulations contained within the precious pagoda, his punch then transformed into an earth dragon. Xin Chao, you're using public office to avenge private resentments. What audacity! Ling Han said in a calm voice. Xin Chao sneered and said, My ancestor is a 7th heaven celestial king, and I'm also a monarch tier myself. Moreover, I'm the most doted descendant of my ancestor, so he'll help me escape punishment no matter what troubles I cause. Ling Han shook his head upon hearing this. This person had truly been ruined by his doting seniors. If Ling Han were truly an 11th secret monarch star, and if he were truly killed by Xin Chao, it would be easy to envision every single 9th heaven celestial king flaring up in wild rage. They would capture Xin Chao, and brutally tear him to pieces. The death of such a person would be no pity. Han Lin, after killing you, I'm also going to seek out your women. Do you want to guess what I'm going to do to them? Xin Chao asked in a sinister voice. Ling Han's gaze involuntarily became ice cold. Initially, he had still had the patience to deal with this person. Now, however, his patience had vanished. Moreover, the number of celestial kings from the foreign realm had already reached 137. It was almost time to act. Ling Han lashed out, grabbing at Xing Chao. "You're seeking death," Xing Chao said with a sneer. The precious pagoda above his head had been personally refined by the ancestor of the Shin clan. Even though it wasn't a celestial tool, it possessed a wisp of a celestial king's power. He couldn't channel the full power of this pagoda by himself, yet the rays of light that shone from it were powerful enough to mercilessly suppress all ascending origin tier elites. Yet, Ling Han actually dared to attack? Was he not seeking death? "Have a taste of pain," Xing Chao said with a sneer. At this moment, Ling Han's hand had already made contact with the rays of light. Pun! There was a crisp cracking sound as Ling Han's hand punched through the rays of light and grabbed the precious treasure. With a powerful twist, the precious pagoda that had been forged from heaven knew what level pseudo-divine metal was then instantly reduced to pieces. When Ling Han's hand fell down again, it had already wrapped around Xing Chao's neck. Everything had occurred far too quickly, so much so that Xing Chao still hadn't come to his senses. He wore an expression of confusion as he dazedly stared at Ling Han. How was this possible? That was an 8-star treasure personally refined by his ancestor. Even ascending origin tier elites couldn't have shattered it. Yet Ling Han had crushed it with a single hand? This was unfathomable. Impossible, impossible, impossible! Xing Chao could only mutter this word. "All right, let me show you something even more impossible," Ling Han said with a smile. He turned around. It was finally time for him to reel in the net. "Measly human, offer me your life!" Upon discovering Ling Han's whereabouts, a celestial king from the foreign realm instantly charged over. There was no celestial king protecting Ling Han right now, so it was the best time to kill him. "No!" the celestial kings from the celestial realm roared. Regardless of how prodigious Ling Han was, the gulf in cultivation level between him and celestial kings was far too huge. A celestial king could reduce him to ashes with a single casual attack. "No!" Xing Chao also shouted. This was because he was being held by the neck by Ling Han. If attacked by a celestial king, he would definitely die as well. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? What the hell did this have to do with him? Why did he have to die alongside Ling Han? Ling Han wore a beaming smile, and he said, It's fine. He raised his arm, and made a light pressing motion. 1. The celestial king's attack ground to a sudden halt before shattering to pieces. The surroundings became deathly silent. That was the attack of a celestial king. Yet Ling Han had casually blocked it just like that. Was this possible? Was this realistic? Were they not dreaming? However, after faltering for a brief moment, the celestial kings immediately started to scour the surroundings. Who had helped Ling Han? To convince them that a measly immortal palace tier elite had blocked a celestial king's attack? Impossible! Humph! The foreign realm elite sneered before launching another attack. Boom! He unleashed a ray of black light that shot toward Ling Han like an arrow. Hurry up and release me! Xing Chao roared. Ling Han was about to die, so why did he have to drag him down alongside him? A celestial king could block 1, 2, 10, or even 100 attacks for Ling Han. However, they would eventually make a mistake. Once they made a mistake, the fate of him and Ling Han would be sealed. Right now, he couldn't care less about whether Ling Han died or not. Most importantly, he didn't want to die. Ling Han shook his head. I already said it's fine. Why won't you believe me? He raised his arm, and made a pressing motion again. The ray of black light immediately stopped. In fact, it even turned around to shoot back at the elite who had launched it. The celestial kings were all stunned upon seeing this. Blocking a celestial king's attack was no great feat after all. There were innumerable fifth heaven celestial kings here. However, to reflect the attack of an 11th Lotus elite? Even fifth heaven celestial kings couldn't achieve such a feat. What in the world was going on? I don't believe this! The foreign realm elite roared as he started to accumulate power for an ultimate attack. He was convinced that Ling Han was being protected by a powerful celestial king. He was at the 11th lotus, so he was definitely no match for 5th heaven celestial kings. However, he would definitely find an opportunity to exterminate this measly immortal palace tier cultivator. This was only a matter of time. Everyone would eventually make a mistake, even celestial kings were no exception. This was especially the case since he was unleashing an ultimate attack. Just a single remnant shockwave would be able to kill Ling Han. Have you gone mad? Hurry up and dodge! Dodge! Xin Chao bellowed. He truly didn't want to die at all. At this moment, he was even willing to call Ling Han his ancestor. My great ancestor, I beg you to please dodge. That's a mighty celestial king tier figure. However, Ling Han simply smiled as he raised his right foot and stomped down at the foreign realm elite. Chapter 2261 Might Unleashed. Chapter 2261 Might Unleashed. Ling Han's foot immediately transformed into a colossal black foot that was as large as a mountain as it descended upon the foreign realm elite. Everyone shook their heads upon seeing this. This was an ant challenging a lion. To say nothing of transforming his foot into a mountain, even if it were transformed into a celestial body, what good would it do? Before a celestial king, such power was measly and insignificant. Moreover, he dared to actively challenge a celestial king tier elite? And to use his foot at that? Just how much disdain was he expressing? The foreign realm elite was incandescent with rage. Just because you have the protection of a celestial king, you dare to treat me with such utter disdain? You're seeking death. He was accumulating power for an ultimate attack, so he paid no heed to Ling Han's attack. This was only an 11th secret weakling, so what did it matter even if the celestial king was hit? Once the latter unleashed his attack, the greatest threat to the future of the foreign realm would be reduced to ashes. No! 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 Xin Chao's face was pale with fright. Ling Han's attack would definitely be futile against that celestial king. However, when the celestial king counterattacked, both he and Ling Han would be blasted into oblivion. He didn't want to die. Boom! The foot landed, and with a pop, the foreign realm elite immediately vanished without a trace. Only the colossal foot remained, seemingly tangible in its existence. Gasp! Ah! Huh! Everyone fell deathly silent. Much like the time when Ling Han had blocked the attack of the foreign realm elite just then, no one could believe this result. Measly immortal palace tier elites were like ants before celestial kings. However, with a single stomp, a celestial king tier elite had actually disappeared. No, even his aura had vanished. It was as if both his figure and divine sense had been destroyed. Who could accept this? Who could believe this? Do you believe me now? Ling Han asked with a smile as he glanced at Xin Chao. Xin Chao's mouth was agape with shock. He was stupefied, and his mind was blank. Ling Han raised his foot. Boom! That colossal foot also rose. When the dust settled, everyone could see the bloody pulp that had once been the foreign realm elite. Interestingly, the foreign realm elite had possessed the shape of a cockroach. As such, it was as if Ling Han had truly trampled a pest to death. A mighty 12th One Lotus elite had actually died just like that. He had died in such a vexing manner? Commotion ripped through the realm. Everyone had already recovered from their shock, and what remained was strong doubt and immense confusion. Was there truly an elite protecting Ling Han? A 5th heaven celestial king could indeed crush 3rd heaven celestial kings. However, which celestial king wasn't a prodigy? Even with a gap of 2 minor levels, the result shouldn't have been so lopsided, right? Moreover, due to the limit of this realm, those above the 5th heaven couldn't enter. As such, how could this be explained? Perhaps the celestial realm has come up with a special way to send those above 5th heaven celestial kings in? A foreign realm elite speculated. Perhaps we've come up with a special way for those above 5th heaven celestial kings to enter? A celestial king from the celestial realm murmured. I don't believe this! An elite from the foreign realm shouted as he stepped forward. He reached over and made a pressing motion at Ling Han. Boom! Countless symbols lit up, and a paramount aura suffused through the surroundings. This was a 14th Lotus Elite. This was the power of a 5th Heaven Celestial King, the strongest power that could exist in this realm. At this moment, the elites from the Celestial Realm also forgot about trying to save Ling Han, or perhaps it was better to say that they had been sent into numb shock by the elite behind Ling Han. They wanted to see how this figure would deal with this attack. Xin Chao was scared out of his skin. He refused to believe that Ling Han truly possessed the power to rival celestial kings. As such, he once again became pale with fright. In fact, he hadn't always been such a cowardly person. However, after being attacked by celestial kings several times, he naturally couldn't control his emotions anymore. Boom! A large hand reached over, causing the entire sky to shudder. This was paramount power. Ling Han smiled faintly as he balled his hand into a fist. Boom! Pun! The large hand instantly shattered. The elite from the foreign realm groaned as a trail of blood flowed from his right hand. The backlash of the regulations had wounded him. Upon seeing this, all of the celestial kings came to a solid conclusion. Ling Han wasn't being protected by a celestial king or whatnot. Instead, he truly possessed the power to rival a celestial king. How was this possible? He was only at the 11th secret. Xin Chao was also numb with shock as he stared at Ling Han. At this moment, he felt as if this person was a demon. There was nothing but terror in his mind. Ling Han chuckled and said, "You dared to attack me? Quite the courage, huh?" He unleashed a boundless killing intent, and with a flash, he had already appeared before that 14th Lotus Elite. He then threw a punch. Celestial kings were naturally powerful, and their divine senses were also extremely sharp. At almost the exact same moment that Ling Han appeared, the 14th Lotus Elite had already lashed out, striking at Ling Han's face. This time, Xin Chao's reaction wasn't so pathetic. He surprisingly didn't squeal. Looking closely, however, his eyes had already rolled into his head. He had fainted from fright. Ling Han's formidable might had shocked him into unconsciousness. Pun! Ling Han's punch was faster, and he immediately struck the 14th Lotus Elite's head. Like a watermelon, the elite's head exploded into bits. Pun! His headless body then swayed for a brief moment before collapsing to the ground with a heavy thud, throwing dust into the air. There was no grieving from heaven and earth. His death was like that of an insignificant ant. Ling Han's movements were practiced as he searched this elite's body, and retrieved his spatial god tool, stuffing it into his pockets. He had truly done this many times. Gulp! There was the sound of uncomfortable swallowing. That was a 14th Lotus Elite. The equivalent of a 5th Heaven Celestial King. If there were no exceptional circumstances, monarch tiers could only reach such a level as well. However, Ling Han had actually killed such an elite at a whim? He had crushed them like an ant. Just then, who had called Ling Han an ant? Why didn't they step forward now? Their death would be guaranteed. Why you obtained the origin magic cube? An elite from the foreign realm stammered as he pointed at Ling Han. He finally came to his senses. Not good. Ling Han grinned and said, "There's finally a smart person. However, it's too late." The expressions of the elites from the foreign realm changed drastically. They weren't afraid of the fact that Ling Han had obtained the origin magic cube. This realm was far too small, so even though Ling Han had obtained the origin magic cube, he could only obtain the battle prowess of an 8th heaven or 9th heaven celestial king at most. He would still be no match for Heavenly Venerates. However, once he self-destructed this realm, that would trigger a devastating storm of energy that might even affect the stability of the connection point between the two realms. At that time, even Heavenly Venerates would have trouble trying to enter. This was what worried them the most. "There's no need for you people to consider so much, because I'm going to obliterate each and every one of you," Ling Han said in a cold voice. There was no sympathy and pity when it came to this battle between the two realms. There was only death and destruction. Things would only conclude when one side was thoroughly destroyed. "Leave!" an elite from the foreign realm roared. This brat was nowhere near the celestial king tier. However, after obtaining the origin magic cube, he had become the ruler of this realm. That they had been able to enter this realm proved that they were inferior to the power of this realm. As such, they would naturally be no match for Ling Han. In other words, facing him head-on wasn't an option. That would merely be seeking death. In any case, there were over 130 celestial king tier elites from the foreign realm. If they charged out together, would not even a single one of them survive? Boom! The elites from the foreign realm turned around to flee. By the looks of it, they could only seek the help of a Heavenly Venerate to destroy this realm. Even if that delayed their invasion by 10 billion years or an epoch, it would still be worth it. Have I allowed you to leave? Ling Han said in a cold voice. He was going to unleash his divine might. Chapter 2262 Arrival of Heavenly Venerate. Chapter 2262 Arrival of Heavenly Venerate. Ling Han moved like a tiger that had rushed into a flock of sheep. With every punch, a foreign realm celestial king would be killed. Simple and violent. The celestial king tier elites were actually like helpless lambs, completely incapable of fighting back. Everyone's scalp turned numb at this. It was as if Ling Han had become a 9th heaven-level great demon, killing or sparing as he liked, with everything under his control. The celestial realm's celestial kings were all rueful. Who would have expected this moment? Ling Han had definitely been deliberately holding back, and waited until enough kings of the foreign realm had come to finally brandish his butcher's knife. Thus, this was locking the gates and beating up the dog, a complete massacre. No one could stop Ling Han. He was the master of this world. Unless a Heavenly Venerate interfered, or a pseudo-Heavenly Venerate arrived, who would be able to become his match? Die! 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 Ling Han was like a demon from hell. In his eyes, not a single bit of mercy could be seen. The two realms were enemies, and him killing the foreign realm cultivators was equivalent to saving his own home, so it was naturally impossible for him to have any mercy. It was not just the celestial kings of the foreign realm. Monarch stars like Wu Xian, Sun Luo, and the others were also on Ling Han's kill list. If these monarch stars were allowed to mature, they all could become 9th heaven celestial kings. In fact, it was possible that they could even become Heavenly Venerates. No! Pen. Sun Luo had just exclaimed this one word when his head had exploded with a merciless punch from Ling Han. So what if he was a monarch star? In the face of pseudo-heavenly venerable tier power, he was just trash. Ling Han was expressionless, manifesting millions of himself, and simultaneously hunting down all the cultivators of the foreign realm. Na Yu howled sharply, her 3 horns glowing at the same time, and seals brilliantly shining while forming a sea of light. Then, it was no use at all. With a tap of Ling Han's finger, she turned into shattered bits. Wu Xian fled madly, but a flash of sword light swept out towards and instantly caught up with him, slicing him into millions of pieces. He was deader than dead. Don't even think of killing me! Qi Shui roared loudly. He finally understood why there was such a gap between himself and Ling Han. The latter had hold of the origin magic cube, and could kill even a celestial king with a single punch, what more him, who was only at the 11th layer of 8th lotus. He was defiant, he could not submit. He was a descendant of Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen, indescribably noble and esteemed. How could he possibly die in this place? He murmured softly, a strange power was surging. He was reciting the true name of Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen. It was very rare that the true name of a Heavenly Venerate was known to others because reciting it would lead to a great karmic reaction and a strong connection. However, Qi Shui was the descendant of Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen, and the true name of this Heavenly Venerate was carved into his bloodline. Qi Shui activated his bloodline, manifesting the true name of Heavenly Venerate Qi Yen, which turned into a light that illuminated the whole world. Reciting the name of a Heavenly Venerate would lead to great karma because a Heavenly Venerate was actually not recognized by the heaven and earth. After summoning a sliver of divine sense of his, he naturally would be targeted by the heaven and earth. Ling Han immediately sensed it. A power that was so strong it caused his heart to shudder was presently becoming stronger endlessly. It should be known that he presently was a pseudo-Heavenly Venerate. To make his heart shudder, just how strong would that power have to be? Heavenly Venerate Chien was about to appear. Ling Han humphed, and with a thought Pa, Chi Shui really turned into bits of blood, and the process of summoning the Heavenly Venerate was immediately stopped. No! The foreign realm kings were all roaring in fury. Chi Shui was really too important. Not only was he an invincible monarch star, he was also the descendant of a Heavenly Venerate. What are you howling for? Ling Han asked coldly, and his manifestations moved at the same time, killing one foreign realm king after another. However, a hole had still been forcibly ripped in the skies. A figure appeared, yet it was so pale that it was close to transparent. But even so, he was still exuding an incredibly strong aura, as if a single thought from him was capable of shattering this heaven and earth. Lord Chien. The members of the foreign realm that were still surviving all fell to their knees, their expressions filled with reverence. This was the Heavenly Venerate Chien of the foreign realm. The members of the foreign realm were all overjoyed. As they saw it, a Heavenly Venerable Tier only had to appear, and there would be nothing that could not be resolved. Unlock the seal and let them go. Heavenly Venerate Chien spoke. Suddenly, a terrifying aura surged out, just like an earthquake or a tsunami. Ling Han couldn't help but grin. Even if a sliver of divine sense from you truly descended, it is not certain that you would even be my match, what more when it is only a shadow now. Old geezer, just go somewhere you're actually wanted. I will eventually chop off your wretched head one day. How dare you! Insolence! Those from the foreign realm all berated Ling Han furiously. He actually dared speak in such a manner to a supreme Heavenly Venerate. Their flames of fury were completely ignited. In the hearts of those from the foreign realm, Heavenly Venerable Tier was an indestructible god. This is my world, so scram! Ling Han sent out a punch. Boom! Heavenly Venerate Chien's shadow was immediately destroyed. Those from the foreign realm were all gaping, rendered completely incapable of speech. Though that was only the shadow of a Heavenly Venerate, not even a sliver of divine sense, to just watch as Ling Han destroyed it with a single punch still struck them a very powerful blow. This was practically heaven-defying. Ling Han humphed, and his eyes swept over them, his killing intent blazing. A Heavenly Venerate had already been alerted. He definitely had to move as soon as possible. Otherwise, this Heavenly Venerate would very soon arrive. This new world would not be able to block a Heavenly Venerate, what more when the foreign realm did not just have a single Heavenly Venerate. Pun pun pun. Multiple streaks of blood sprayed out, and no one was a match for Ling Han at all. In merely the time for a few breaths, Ling Han had slaughtered all the beings of the foreign realm. He was bathing in the blood of these enemies, standing proudly in the air. Even if he was just a lone figure, others still felt that even if thousands of troops came from the foreign realm, they would still be unable to compel him to take a step back. Xin Chao came back to consciousness slowly. His legs were trembling as he said, I submit, I submit, I submit. Again and again, he repeated these words. Ling Han humphed and retorted, You took advantage of your official position to avenge a personal grudge. If it were not for the fact that my strength is superior to you, I would have long since become a lonely ghost. Whom are you trying to deceive with those words? For a vile character like you to be alive is merely a waste of resources. His killing intent was still blazing, bearing the aura of having killed the various celestial kings of the foreign realm. It was incredibly frightening. Xin Chao had actually been scared to the point of pissing himself. It could not be helped. He was facing someone who was equivalent to a pseudo-Heavenly Venerate. Moreover, he had been terrified so many times previously, so all his courage had long since been frightened out of him. He no longer possessed a sliver of the bearing that a monarch tier should have. Please have mercy. A celestial realm hurriedly spoke up. This is a member of our celestial realm. You cannot render a personal punishment on him. No matter how many of the foreign realm Ling Han killed, it would be contributing to the celestial realm, but if he killed a comrade of the celestial realm, That would be a great crime, what more when Xinqiao was still a monarch tier. In the future, his accomplishments would definitely reach the fifth heaven celestial king, at least a power that could not be overlooked. Ling Han moved, and Xinqiao's head immediately exploded, both form and spirit destroyed. He had already spared Xinqiao several times, but not only did the latter not curb himself, he even wanted to kill Ling Han now. Did he think that he was made out of clay, and had no temper, or was a saint? The celestial king who had spoken up couldn't help but bear an ugly expression. He had some connections with the celestial king of the Shen clan, and had thus taken the initiative to speak up. He had not thought that Ling Han would not give him any face at all. Hadn't he just gotten extremely lucky, and obtained the origin magic cube? As long as he left this place, the celestial king would be able to crush this damn bug with a single finger. However, it was only he that held this kind of displeasure. The others, including celestial kings, were all incredibly elated because they had killed over 130 kings of the foreign realm in this battle, as well as a great many well-known figures of the enemy's younger generation. This was definitely a heavy blow to the foreign realm. If it was the celestial realm, they would probably need at least 2 to 3 epochs to be able to recover from this loss. Long live! Everyone cheered. Pun! However, right at this moment, this world trembled, as if it was about to collapse. Chapter 2263 Redeeming Military Merit. Chapter 2263 Redeeming Military Merit. The world was trembling violently, seemingly close to collapsing. Ling Han's face paled, and he felt so horrible that he wanted to throw up blood. This world was presently sustaining a heavy blow, and he was fused with this world. Since the heaven and earth was being damaged, he, too, would feel it. He could see, very clearly. At the foreign realm's end, an incredibly terrifying being was presently attacking the neutral zone. Blasting out an attack caused the whole world to shake violently, incapable of bearing it at all. Heavenly Venerate Qian. He was already here. In such a short while, he had rushed here from who knew which corner of the foreign realm. His speed was really chilling. And it was unknown whether this was his real self or not. He was about 30 meters tall, his upper body bared, and covered with seals all over his skin. Even if Ling Han was now at the pseudo-heavenly venerable tier, he still could not clearly see the detailed appearance of these seals. There was another millions and millions of meters tall image behind him. With each punch, that image would also send out a punch, which would land on the neutral zone, causing the whole world to tremble, and teeter dangerously close to collapse. When Ling Han's divine sense swept over, Heavenly Venerate Qian immediately sensed it. He, too, looked over, and it was as if his eyes could traverse the endless distance, and see Ling Han's true self. "Let's go!" Ling Han exclaimed quickly. With just a mere glance like that, it was like all the blood in his body was boiling, and he felt like he was about to explode into pieces. This new world would not be able to block a Heavenly Venerate at all. Only the great heaven and earth of the celestial realm could do so. With a curl of his great hand, everyone flew, and were tossed instantly out of the neutral zone, arriving beneath clear heaven pass. Ling Han turned around. In this place, he could still see the image that the Heavenly Venerate Qian had manifested. That was really too terrifying. He really had the great aura and might that could shatter the heaven and earth with a single punch. "Small Tower, let me ask you something." Ling Han suddenly spoke up, communicating with Small Tower. After the time for at least 100 heartbeats, Ling Han nodded, and stepped out of the neutral zone. With his exit, Heavenly Venerate Qian actually stopped attacking as well. It seemed like his gaze could penetrate through the millions and millions of km of space, and was still fixed on Ling Han. However, in the heaven and earth of the celestial realm, there was a stronger power that was suppressing the power of Heavenly Venerable Tier. Ling Han finally lost the feeling of being close to exploding, but was still feeling very terrible. Ling Han cast a meaningful glance. This was the power of a Heavenly Venerate, and was also power that he wanted to attain and surpass. He would remember it. He suddenly turned around and left, heading off towards Clear Heaven Pass. The moment he entered into Clear Heaven Pass, he heard thunderous cheers. Chicken Slayer! Han Lin! Everyone was calling his name. People lined up on either side of the long streets, all of them extremely inspired. Ling Han knew that it had to be that the fact that he had killed celestial kings from the foreign realm through trickery in a single battle had already spread out. Though there were some foreign realm kings that had not been killed by him, he had killed at least 90% of them, and what the celestial realm needed now was a superhero to uplift their morale. Thus, they were all considered Ling Han's kills, making his halo even more dazzling. His face bearing a smile, he nodded repeatedly at the people in the area as he accepted the rewards from the heaven and earth. Killing beings of the foreign realm in clear heaven pass was considered ridding the heaven and earth of evil, and one could get rewards from the heaven and earth. However, it would not be directly bestowed, but rather calculated as military merits, which one could trade in at the sacrificial altar of Clear Heaven Pass. In this battle, Ling Han had killed hundreds of foreign realm kings, as well as countless ascending origin tiers, immortal palace tiers, dividing soul tiers, and severing mundane tiers. The military merits that he had gained were naturally extremely high. In history, was there any pseudo-Heavenly Venerate that had joined the battle? Heavenly Venerable tier was not recognized by the heaven and earth at all. Even if they killed, it would still be impossible for them to gain military merits. Thus, the military merits Ling Han obtained would probably make a mark in history all at once. He strode forwards, heading directly towards the sacrificial altar. An ascending origin tier elite appeared, and said to Ling Han, "Han Lin, the celestial kings are summoning you." Ling Han nodded and replied, "All right. Wait until I do something first. It will not take too much time." That ascending origin tier frowned slightly. The celestial kings were summoning him, and this brat actually did not immediately go. But even if the man had extremely great courage, he would not dare do anything against Ling Han. The Ling Han now was the greatest hope of the celestial realm that had provided outstanding service. If he dared touch a hair on Ling Han's head, not only would he be blasted into bits, he would also be nailed onto the pillar of shame in history. Hence, he could only follow behind Ling Han, looking depressed. Among the cheers, Ling Han arrived at the sacrificial altar. The sacrificial altar was extremely simple. It was just a pentagonal stone altar, but upon closer look, Ling Han discovered that the material used to construct the stone altar was extraordinary, possessing astonishing seals of light that were supreme and noble. He walked onto the sacrificial altar, and an object that was akin to a decree immediately appeared in his mind. A series of names were written on it, filling it densely. These were the resources that the heaven and earth allowed for redeeming. Ling Han even saw the 1,000-year dream pill. This pill recipe had long since been lost, but it could actually be redeemed from the heaven and earth in this place. Everything in this world was created by the heaven and earth. Even alchemical pills and so on were still formed after obtaining various ingredients in this world, which were formed naturally by the heaven and earth. "I want level 20 godly metal," Ling Han said mentally. Instantly, a hole cracked open on the sacrificial altar. Countless metals dropped, and Ling Han's military merits was subtracted continuously by the heaven and earth. Ling Han was unconcerned. He wanted to advance the divine demon sword to celestial tools level, and he had already made this decision long before when he had decided to kill the foreign realm elites through trickery. He received the godly metal from below, stowing all of it into the Black Tower. The ascending origin tier elite watching from behind him was completely baffled. Ling Han was actually using a large amount of military merits to redeem level 20 godly metal? Was there something wrong with you? Even redeeming pseudo-divine metal was better than this. His heart was aching painfully. Though level 20 godly metal was not worth much military merit, this was still an ocean's worth. All the military merits added together made even his eyes bloodshot with envy. Wasteful, this was really too wasteful. Yet Ling Han was completely unconcerned. When he felt like it was enough, he finally stated, "That's enough." Instantly, his military merits stopped subtracting, and the bestowing of godly metal also stopped. It should be enough to upgrade the divine demon's sword. Ling Han checked, and there was still about 2/3 left of his military merits. "I'll redeem some more celestial medicine," Ling Han stated, spending his military merits without any meanness. This was only a useless figure on himself. It was only truly beneficial once it could be traded for real items. As he redeemed stuff, understanding rose up in his heart. Everything in this world, to be frank, was actually regulations, including himself. He, too, was also merely regulations. The form was secondary, and regulations were the primary element. Of course, Ling Han had absolutely no plans of giving up his physical body. Regulations were the display of strength, and enjoying life would need a physical body to realize. "Right, I'll redeem some of this stuff as well." Ling Han's eyes lit up. He discovered a tool that was called Heaven and Earth Origin Stars, which was exceedingly expensive, but its might was also incredibly powerful, and could deliver a Celestial King tier-level attack. Once he had traded in all his military merits, Ling Han was finally satisfied. "Let's go," he said to that ascending origin tier elite. That man had long since gotten impatient from waiting. With a slight humph, he led the way ahead. Actually, he looked down on Ling Han slightly, and thought that Ling Han had only been able to attain such a great merit purely because he had gotten a stroke of sheer dumb luck, and obtained the origin magic cube. If it was anyone else, it could be done as well. Chapter 2264 Appearance of the Imperial Void Celestial King. Chapter 2264 Appearance of the Imperial Void Celestial King. That ascending origin tier elite brought Ling Han to a large palace. This great palace was really too majestic, with light of Tao enshrouding it, and emanating an air of utter dominance. Ling Han was sure that this great hall had to be a precious treasure. He channeled the heaven-deceiving technique, concealing his own aura. More importantly, it was to conceal the existence of the Black Tower. There were a great many ninth heaven celestial kings here. Led by that ascending origin tier, Ling Han entered into the great palace. When they arrived here, the back of that ascending origin tier elite involuntarily bent as he revealed a cautious look, seeming like he did not even dare to breathe too heavily. This was natural. There were many celestial kings seated in the great palace, and several ninth heaven celestial kings were seated loftily on the other end of the great palace, as if they were immortal gods. "Han Lin, you have accomplished great service for the celestial realm." The Eternity Celestial King spoke first, his voice resounding strongly, and possessing supreme austerity. This was his true self. What had appeared at the Saintly Origin Academy was merely a sliver of divine sense from him, a manifestation, and could not be compared with his true self at all. Ling Han appeared extremely modest, and bowed slightly towards the Eternity Celestial King. "Thank you for your praise, Lord Eternity. It is indeed a merit that will not be erased for ages," another Celestial King said. All those that could speak at this moment had to be ninth heaven Celestial Kings. Her title was Thousand Words, and she was one of the rarer female Celestial Kings. The saying is true. Throughout history, heroes have emerged from the youth. A Celestial King dressed in Tao robes stroked his beard and smiled slightly. His title was Cloud Void, and he naturally was also a ninth heaven Celestial King. The Celestial Kings were not stingy with their praise. Aside from the fact that Ling Han had killed a great many elites from the foreign realm, his own natural talent of cultivation was also extremely valued by the Celestial Kings. "I propose that we nurture this boy as much as possible," the Eternity Celestial King said. He had a very high opinion of Ling Han. "With the natural talent of this boy, added with the Eternity Celestial King, it is possible that he could surpass the limitations of the regulations, and become a Heavenly Venerate." Heavenly Venerate! The Celestial Kings all looked solemn. This was an existence that was superior to regulations. Even in the entirety of the celestial realm, there were only 3 such overlords. "I agree," the Everlasting Youth Celestial King immediately said. He was close friends with the Eternity Celestial King. "I agree as well." The Treading Clouds Celestial King expressed her own stand as well. "I disagree." Right at this moment, a figure appeared at the doorway of the palace, casting a long shadow, and emanating a boundless pressure on the celestial kings. Imperial void! The Eternity Celestial King's eyes narrowed as he spat out these words. Instantly, Ling Han's heart jolted as he looked towards this person. This was a youth, who looked to be no more but 16 or 17 years old, but his sideburns were already snow-white, revealing an air of age. He was clearly just one person, but standing there, he was like an immovable god that no one could possibly surpass. Powerful, extremely powerful. Ling Han had a feeling that even if he was still in the neutral zone, it would not be easy for him to kill this person. This was an instinct that could not be described, but Ling Han was absolutely certain about it. The Imperial Void Celestial King, an overlord among the Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings, an existence that could definitely be ranked into the top 10, or even the top 3. Small Tower had once said that when the Imperial Void had been in Severing Mundane Tier, he had repeatedly crippled his own cultivation level and started again, right until he could deliver no more strikes to the heaven and earth, and only then did he advance into the Dividing Soul Tier. This kind of being was probably endlessly close to the Heavenly Venerable Tier. No. There was still a very large gap between him and the Heavenly Venerable Tier, Ling Han immediately corrected mentally, but the latter was truly just a step away from pseudo-Heavenly Venerable Tier. Even celestial kings like Eternity Celestial King would probably not last 100 moves against him. This was the personal disciple of a Heavenly Venerate, and was extraordinarily powerful. What do you mean? The Everlasting Youth Celestial King asked. The Imperial Void Celestial King strode in, a frightening aura surging out. All the celestial kings in the palace were intimidated by him, and actually fell completely silent. He stated calmly, "I think that this boy should hand over the Origin Magic Cube." When these words fell, all the celestial kings immediately rose in a storm of protest. It could be said that Ling Han had performed a great service for the celestial realm, but the first words from the Imperial Void Celestial King were actually to demand that Ling Han's strongest treasure was to be taken from him. Wouldn't this just be bitterly disappointing the rest? If they acted in such a manner, who would still be willing to work for the celestial realm? The Imperial Void Celestial King continued, "I have already touched the edges of the Heavenly Venerable Tier. I have certainty that if I had the Origin Magic Cube, I could break through to the Heavenly Venerable Tier within the next 100 million years." He paused, and then continued, "If I become a Heavenly Venerate, I will definitely be able to push our enemies out of our borders, and guarantee that the celestial realm will be safe for millions and millions of epochs. Tell me, does the slightest bit of selfishness underlie my actions?" Ling Han was speechless for a while. The Imperial Void Celestial King clearly wanted to take the Origin Magic Cube for his own, yet still spoke of it in such a grand, noble manner, as if his cause was just and righteous. It had definitely surpassed the upper limits of shamelessness. The Celestial Kings exchanged looks, appearing very hesitant. The Imperial Void Celestial King was an absolute prodigy in his youth, leading a whole era. Just the fact that he had delivered strikes to the heaven and earth until he could not anymore in the Severing Mundane Tier was a clear show of some traces of his freakish genius. Furthermore, when he advanced into the Ninth Heaven Celestial King Tier, he had also become the highest grade of elite. There were at most only 10 that could be his equal, and he could even rank in the top 3. His superior strength truly shook the past and shone in the present. If it had to be said that there was anyone in this world that would be most qualified to become the next Heavenly Venerate, the Imperial Void Celestial King was definitely one of them. To be honest, after the Imperial Void Celestial King obtained the Origin Magic Cube, how high would be his chances of advancing into the Heavenly Venerable Tier? Probably very high. This kind of existence was really just a line's breadth away from the Heavenly Venerable Tier, and the Origin Magic Cube was the stepping stone that could push open the doors to this final stage. The importance of a Heavenly Venerate was really much, much too great. The reason why Clear Heaven Pass had been guarded with such difficulty was because they did not have a Heavenly Venerable Tier standing guard here. Otherwise, there would be endless regulations they could channel, and even if the Celestial Realm side only had a single Heavenly Venerate, he could be treated like 3, 5, or even 10 celestial kings. If the Imperial Void becomes a Heavenly Venerate, everyone thought it would only need 100 million years, and the situation of the celestial realm would be improved by an unknown number of times. With such thoughts, quite a number of celestial kings were moved. As they saw it, the importance of the celestial realm naturally far surpassed the benefits of one or two people. The Imperial Void Celestial King turned to Ling Han again, and said, "Youth, hand over the origin magic cube. I will not mistreat you, and I will take you as a disciple. In the future, it is not impossible that you, too, would be able to touch the borders of the Heavenly Venerable Tier." Ling Han smirked coldly. He had long since had a stomach full of anger, and it finally exploded as he demanded, "Dare I ask, Lord Imperial Void, where is your master?" The master of the Imperial Void Celestial King was naturally the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable, and Ling Han's words were very direct and meaning. It was not that the celestial realm did not have any Heavenly Venerates. Your master was one, but had he stepped forward and done anything for the sake of the celestial realm? Even if you became a Heavenly Venerate, so what? Would you really work for the benefit of the celestial realm? If there was only one Heavenly Venerate, without great determination, would you be able to block the Heavenly Venerates of the foreign realm that numbered at least in the dozens? The sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable had become a coward, so how could Ling Han trust that the Imperial Void Celestial King would be an exception? That was right. Ling Han had complete confidence in himself, and was certain that even if he did not have the origin magic cube, he would still be capable of becoming a Heavenly Venerate, though it was possible that the process would be more complicated and troublesome. Hence, he could afford to let go of the origin magic cube. The problem here was there was absolutely no way he was going to hand it over to the Imperial Void Celestial King. The Imperial Void Celestial King actually did not get angered, but instead smiled. "Youth, you are really quite brave. However, whatever I want, there has never been anyone that can refuse me." He moved directly, grabbing out at Ling Han. Chapter 2265 Snatching. Chapter 2265 Snatching. The Imperial Void Celestial King had moved. The Eternity Celestial King humphed, and exclaimed, "Imperial Void, you have gone too far!" He moved as well, helping Ling Han to disperse this attack. Boom! The whole great palace trembled, and a terrifying storm of power surged out madly. All those celestial kings below 8th heaven were sent flying. A 9th heaven celestial king was too strong, and both Imperial Void and Eternity were two of the strongest of them. The aftermath of a single blow would have that kind of might. Only Ling Han was still standing where he had been, for the Eternity Celestial King had blocked the attack that had blasted towards him. "Eternity, you dare stop me?" Imperial Void Celestial King demanded menacingly, his expression icy. In his awareness, there had long since been no worldly concept like right or wrong. Everything was for the sake of pursuing the true pinnacle of cultivation. And now there was a chance laid out in front of him. Whether the other would give it to him of his own volition, or he moved to snatch this chance, he was determined to obtain it. The Eternity Celestial King also looked furious as he exclaimed, "This boy has done a great service for the celestial realm, yet as his senior, you actually wish to deprive him of his treasure. Have you no shame?" "Shame?" The Imperial Void Celestial King laughed loudly. "In the face of the survival of the celestial realm, you speak of shame with me? Eternity, a cultivator should sever his emotions and connections. Your obsession is too strong. It is no wonder that your battle prowess has stagnated." The Eternity Celestial King sneered. "Imperial Void, do you dare swear a Tao oath that you will be willing to battle for the sake of the celestial realm after becoming a Heavenly Venerate, right until your last drop of blood?" Instantly, the Imperial Void Celestial King's smile withdrew. For elites like them, Tao oath was actually a questioning of their own hearts. Once they had sworn a Tao oath, if they could not fulfill it, they would encounter great danger when they attempted to break through to a higher cultivation level. This was a backlash that came from their own heart, and was more dangerous than anything else. At first, 9th Heaven Celestial Kings were already incapable of further progress, so they naturally had no need to fear any Tao oath, but it just so happened that the Imperial Void Celestial King still wanted to become a Heavenly Venerate. That was a completely different story. No words to refute me? The Eternity Celestial King scoffed. Though this brat is outrageously bold, his words ring true. What has your line done for the celestial realm? Quite a number of celestial kings nodded at this. Originally, if there had been 3 Heavenly Venerates as their commanders, the pressure on Clear Heaven Pass would have been reduced countless times over. The Imperial Void Celestial King frowned. He naturally would not be concerned about the opinions of these celestial kings, but at present, he wanted what belonged to Ling Han. If he angered these celestial kings, there was no way he could succeed. After all, there were indeed a few celestial kings that could be his equal, and if 2 or 3 of them joined forces, they would be able to stop him. He suppressed his killing intent and said, "The Heavenly Venerable Tyr has surpassed the regulations, and is not recognized by the heaven and earth. Every time one appears and makes a move, they would be taking the great risk of being killed by the heaven and earth. Thus, before reaching the very crucial point, how could a Heavenly Venerate possibly step out?" These words gained the agreement of a great many celestial kings. The Imperial Void Celestial King was right. Though Heavenly Venerable Tyr was superior to regulations, they were also not recognized by the heaven and earth because of this. "Excuses!" the Eternity Celestial King sneered. "Imperial Void, these words of yours will only be able to deceive those celestial kings that have just advanced. 8 epochs ago, the connecting point between the 2 realms was already incredibly stable, and even the Heavenly Venerates of the foreign realm could enter. At that time, was there any Heavenly Venerate that had moved? Yes, but there was only one, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable. He battled 11 Heavenly Venerates of the foreign realm, and in the final moment, he used himself to fuse with Heavenly Tao, barraging the connecting point of the 2 realms, and causing it to shatter, and this was what guaranteed as much as 8 epochs' time to recuperate for the celestial realm." When these words fell, the newly promoted celestial kings and even the mighty figures that had only advanced to the celestial king tier in the latest 5 to 6 epochs were all stunned. This was a page of history that had been erased. Who would have imagined that the celestial realm had almost been conquered 8 epochs ago? Realization finally dawned on Ling Han. The Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable had died in that manner. With him alone facing 11 enemies, no matter how strong the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable was, what could he do? There was absolutely no way he could be their match. Anyone who could become a Heavenly Venerate had to be a supreme elite. In a one-on-one battle, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious, what more when there was such a large disparity in the numbers. Hence, in the end, the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerable could only fuse himself with Heavenly Tao, and barrage the connecting point of the 2 realms, causing it to shatter, and once again become unstable, winning the chance for the heavenly realm to rise again after the calamity. But it had already been so dangerous at that time, yet still not one of the 3 great Heavenly Venerates moved. This was practically a betrayal of the celestial realm. No Small Tower was very wary of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the others, so they must even have been on opposing sides. Then, these 3 were even more despicable. Could it be that they had still been holding the Karmic Life Heavenly Venerate back at such a crucial moment? Ling Han really could think of no reason why the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the others would do that, but the truth was the truth. The Imperial Void Celestial King's expression was already dark. Fixing his eyes on the Eternity Celestial King, he declared menacingly, "Regarding the secret history of that era, my master as well as the other 2 lords have already decreed that it is to be forever sealed in that time, and you actually dare reveal it. That is a grave breach." "Ha ha!" The Eternity Celestial King laughed loudly. "Didn't you say that Heavenly Venerable Tyr is unrecognized by the heaven and earth? How could it be that a Heavenly Venerate would come and hunt me down for such a paltry matter? Then I would really like to ask, is it those paltry events of the past that are more important, or is the resistance against the foreign realm more important?" These words had really hit the nail on the head. The Imperial Void Celestial King's killing intent blazed, and solidified to enshroud him. "Eternity, I thought that you were a smart person since you could live so long, but now it looks like you only accomplished that because you had slightly good luck. If the celestial realm dies, everyone will be finished. I truly do not understand what your line as well as the other two lines mean, just simply sitting by and watching as the celestial realm teeters precariously on the edge. The Eternity Celestial King mused, emanating an indescribable grief and indignation. If the three great heavenly venerates could join forces and battle, the situation would definitely be different. A short-sighted character naturally would never be able to understand, the Imperial Void stated calmly. Stretching out a hand, he pointed at Ling Han. Hand over this boy, and I will turn and leave. Otherwise, I will unleash a massacre today. I don't believe that. The Everlasting Youth Celestial King stepped out, standing on the Eternity Celestial King's side. He was also infuriated. Neither do I. Another Celestial King stepped out. It was the Thousand Words Celestial King. Me as well. This was the Cloud Void Celestial King. As many as 7 Ninth Heaven Celestial Kings stood on the same side as the Eternity Celestial King, facing the Imperial Void Celestial King directly. Are you all tired of living? The Imperial Void Celestial King demanded coldly. Among these 8 Celestial Kings, only the Eternity Celestial King and Everlasting Youth Celestial King were worthy of his notice. Though the others were also 9th Heaven Celestial Kings, the gap in their battle prowess was a little wide, and he was completely unafraid of them. Even the line of sealed emotion cannot do as they please, the Eternity Celestial King declared decisively. I am definitely going to protect this brat. Then you can all just go and die. The Imperial Void Celestial King moved, stretching out a hand. Instantly, countless palms appeared in the palace, blasting out simultaneously at the 8 great Celestial Kings. The Eternity Celestial King roared furiously, and a celestial light surged out of his body, turning into an incredibly stunning sword chi. The other Celestial Kings moved as well, charging to attack the Imperial Void Celestial King. The 9 great Celestial Kings battled fiercely, and very soon, they had exited the great palace. Flying into the skies, they broke out into an intense exchange of blows. The Imperial Void Celestial King was indeed powerful. Even if it was only him against 8 opponents, he still did not fall into a disadvantage, and the fact that he could be ranked as one of the strongest Celestial Kings was definitely not because of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable. Han Lin! A loud shout rang out, and Hong Huang walked over, his eyes set on Ling Han. In the academy, you actually dared to rebuff my favor, and now you dare to disobey senior brother Imperial Void. You are merely seeking your own death. He lashed out, moving to attack Ling Han. Chapter 2266 Need Help? Chapter 2266 Need Help? Hong Huang was very overbearing. At Saintly Origin Academy, he already dared to make a move on Ling Han in full public. Though he had not killed or wounded him, he had directly destroyed Ling Han's abode. There was no one that could discipline him, because he was one of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable's people, the disciple of a Heavenly Venerate. And now, he was similarly making a move on Ling Han with absolutely no scruples, because he knew that Ling Han's power only originated from the Origin Magic Cube. Aside from that, he was only a second secret Monarch Star. He, too, was a Monarch Star, and a 9th secret at that. Just how wide was the gap between the two of them? Thus, he attacked Ling Han without any reservations. He, too, wished to touch the Origin Magic Cube, to peer into a sliver of the secrets of regulations. Ling Han did not face him head-on. In a situation when he could not use the Origin Magic Cube, there was naturally no way he could be a match for a 9th secret. The gap between them was really too wide. Void space unfolded, and he formed millions of manifestations. Boom! 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 Hong Huang barraged him madly, and the Celestial Kings had no intention of interfering. Those that wanted to interfere had long since done so, stopping the Imperial Void Celestial King from attacking Ling Han, and now this was merely a 9th secret that was flaunting around arrogantly. Naturally, there was even less of a possibility of them interfering. In any case, he was at the same cultivation level as Ling Han. Ling Han dodged continuously, the expression on his face turning colder and colder. No matter what, he was still a member of the Celestial Realm, and hoped that the Celestial Realm could be saved. He still had a high opinion of a monarch star like Hong Huang, who would be able to fight for the Celestial Realm in the future. This was why he had not made a move on Hong Huang in the neutral zone, but now that he thought about it, this was completely unrealistic. Since when had the line of sealed emotion battled for the Celestial Realm? He shook his head. Hong Huang was merely courting his own death. Do you need me to get rid of this trash for you? A voice rang out, calm and unhurried, completely slow and at ease. Ji Wuming had appeared at the doors of the great palace who knew when, his hands crossed behind his back, looking at Hong Huang disdainfully. Though the latter was only a monarch star, he was still completely worthless in his eyes. No need! Hong Huang called out loudly. Did a ninth secret still need help in a battle against a second secret? You got to be joking. Yet Ji Wuming sighed and said, Trash, I was not talking to you. Don't flatter yourself. What? Hong Huang faltered, and his whole face flushed instantly. He had not imagined that he was the trash that Ji Wuming was speaking of. This. He was a great monarch star, a ninth secret prodigy, and in Ji Wuming's eyes, he wasn't even worthy of being called human, and could only be considered trash? More importantly, he had really flattered himself by snatching the chance to answer first. Now that he thought about it, his face flushed. No, he was furious. He was the disciple of a Heavenly Venerate, and there was absolutely no one that could insult him. Ling Han was surprised and asked, Brother Ji, have you recognized me? Ji Wuming nodded and said, Your disguise technique is indeed flawless. It should be the heaven-deceiving technique of the Heavenly Saint Palace, right? However, there are not many people that I would consider a rival in this world, and the only one whose cultivation level is close to mine is you. How could I be unable to guess? Indeed, if Ling Han appeared average, then Ji Wuming would truly be unable to recognize him, but just how many monarch stars were there? Hong Huang was mad with jealousy. He knew that Ji Wuming was stronger than him, but Ji Wuming had such a high opinion of Ling Han, and considered him a rival, yet did not even deign to pay Hong Huang any regard, calling him trash. How could he possibly accept that? With him roaring furiously, his attacks became even more crazed. He was determined to kill Ling Han, and use facts to tell Ji Wuming that he was much stronger than Ling Han. Ling Han's figure flashed. It was true that his strength was no match for Hong Huang's, but void space was too amazing, and added with the regulations of time, his ability to protect himself was still very strong. He smiled and said, No need. If I wanted to kill this kind of trash, it would be as easy as pie. Good. Hong Huang's eyes were bloodshot. Then show it to me by killing me. Ji Wuming nodded, and actually just turned and left, not even staying to watch the battle. True, who was he? A ninth heaven celestial king in the past, invincible throughout his era, and perhaps even stronger than the Imperial void celestial king. Then how could an immortal palace-tier battle actually be worthy of his notice? He merely did not want Ling Han to die, and make him lose a very good rival. Since Ling Han said he was confident, Ji Wuming naturally left. What was so fun about watching this? Ji Wuming was very relaxed, his figure moving lightly, and very quickly disappeared without a trace. Hong Huang began storing up power for a powerful attack. His battle prowess far surpassed Ling Han's. Thus, he naturally had enough room and leftover power to prepare a stronger attack. Otherwise, in a situation when both sides were equally matched, him doing that would merely be committing suicide. Ling Han smiled slightly. Do you truly wish to die? Hong Huang was so furious that he grinned. If you had the ability to kill me, I would be able to die without regrets. Sigh, what a waste! Ling Han sighed, and took out the Heaven and Earth Origin Star. This was a good item that he had traded with military merits at the sacrificial altar of Heaven and Earth. After activation, it could burst out with a celestial king tier attack, but the trading price was also overwhelmingly expensive. Even he had only managed to trade for a few. Hong Huang's eyes were very sharp. The instant he saw the heaven and earth origin star, his face immediately paled. That was a powerful and deadly weapon. Celestial tools would need a cultivator to activate them, and without enough strength, it could not be done at all. But the heaven and earth origin star was different. It was like a celestial king tier decree. It could be used just by opening it, but it was a one-use item. Compared with the celestial king tier decree, the heaven and earth origin star was more useful because as long as one locked down on his opponent with divine sense, he only had to throw it out, and that would be it. Hong Huang was indeed extraordinarily confident. He was a prodigy that could become a ninth heaven celestial king in the future, but this, after all, was only a matter of the future. If he was to confront a celestial king to attack at this moment, wouldn't that just be suicide? Even if the attack blasted out from a heaven and earth origin star merely had the destructive power of a first heaven celestial king. What to do, what to do, what to do? Hong Huang's forehead was covered with cold sweat, coldness sweeping over him like a flood. In this instant, he truly felt a nervousness that he had never experienced before. Ling Han smiled slightly and said, "At the academy, you attacked as you wished just because you have a cowardly master shielding you, and acted without any reservations, doing as you liked. Now, it was the same as well. Let me ask you, then, I have done such a great service for the celestial realm, yet you still attacked me. Do you even have the slightest bit of shame?" At present, he was a superhero of the Clear Heaven Pass. Who in Clear Heaven Pass did not extremely admire the chicken slayer, Han Lin? Yet Hong Huang aggressively made a move on Ling Han. This was completely a type of betrayal. Hong Huang could not answer. As he saw it, there was no need to be reasonable in anything he did, because his master was the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable, and this was a reason that was stronger than anything. Yet now, he finally felt isolated and helpless. "Youth, you are really arrogant!" A cold laugh rang out, and an elder appeared. His brows and beard were white, filled with a sage-like air. With a flash, he appeared in front of Hong Huang like it was natural that he was there. The old geezer had 7 multicolored lights, and it was as if a slight tremor of his body could cause the earth to crumble, and the stars to fall. 7th Heaven Celestial King! Ling Han's heart jolted. Though the heaven and earth origin star was powerful, it could only shoot out a 4th heaven or 5th heaven celestial king tier attack at most, and definitely could do nothing against 7th heaven celestial kings. "I heard that you killed my many generations' grandson," the old geezer said, his eyes narrowing, emanating a shocking coldness. Chapter 2267 Demand of a Heavenly Venerate. Chapter 2267 Demand of a Heavenly Venerate. Realization dawned on Ling Han. This old geezer was Xin Chao's ancestor. With a laugh, he retorted, "Xin Chao ambushed me in the neutral zone, and it was indeed I who killed him. Old geezer, it would be best to kill this kind of shameless descendant to avoid being embarrassed in the future." The celestial king of the Xin clan couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This brat actually dared to speak so fluently in front of him, not taking him seriously at all? But very soon, he felt relieved because Ling Han dared to insult even a Heavenly Venerate, so what did this count as? His expression did not shift. The self-restraint of a celestial king was naturally good. "Do you think that just trading in a heaven and earth origin star would be enough to stop me?" "Of course not," Ling Han stated, smiling, but then continued righteously. "But I think that justice lies in the hearts of the masses." When these words fell, a considerable number of celestial kings looked guilty. They had not stepped out to protect Ling Han, and a very large reason for that was that they were intimidated by the mighty reputation of the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable. That was right. Indeed, a Heavenly Venerate could not move easily, but it was not that they could not appear. Even if just a sliver of divine sense descended, it could only be matched by a great many 9th heaven celestial kings. However, Before that, even 8th heaven celestial kings would only be able to wait for death. Who dared to offend a heavenly venerate? Moreover, the Imperial Void Celestial King was also indescribably powerful, and his battle prowess could even be ranked in the top 3 among the present 9th heaven celestial kings. So did he not worry that the former would exact vengeance on him in the future? But Ling Han was someone who had done a great service for the celestial realm, after all. Was it really proper for them to just stand by and watch? A hot-tempered celestial king could not hold himself back, appeared in front of Ling Han with a flash, and said to the celestial king of the Shin clan, "Brother Shin, please give me some face, and don't make a move. The grudges of the juniors can be resolved by the juniors themselves. It would be best that we do not interfere. If the celestial kings would be interfering in all matters, wouldn't the world descend into complete chaos?" The celestial king of the Shin clan sneered. "Tong Xian, you want to protect this brat? Humph, killing a comrade of the celestial realm in public is a severe crime that deserves death. Even if I made a move on him, it would only be safeguarding the rules of the celestial realm. What would be wrong about that?" Not only did he want to attain vengeance for his descendant, he also wanted to use this opportunity to draw the Shin clan close to the sealed emotion. Heavenly Venerable. The forum realm was invading, but the stand of the 3 heavenly venerates was extremely ambiguous, but no one believed that the heavenly venerates would just wait for death. They definitely had some other way of retreat. Thus, the celestial king of the Shin clan wanted to get their support, and schemed for a route of survival for himself as well as his descendants. Tong Xian celestial king's right hand shook, and a spear that was completely covered with burning flames appeared in his grip. With a wave of his spear, his fighting spirit flooded out. "Then you will have to pass through me first." He was like a man that guarded the pass, and even 10,000 wouldn't be able to break through. The celestial king of the Shin clan humphed, appearing slightly hesitant. Tong Xian celestial king was very strong, and his battle prowess could be ranked in the higher tiers among 7th heaven celestial kings. He was not confident that he could win, but now that the arrow was drawn, there was no way he could not release the arrow. Boom! Right at this moment, an incredibly frightening divine sense surged over the clear heaven pass. Immediately reacted, glowing entirely, and blocking this divine sense, but the city walls still moaned, as if they could not bear the pressure. It should be known that the clear heaven pass was strengthened generation after generation of countless celestial kings through day and night, and who knew how many formation patterns had been laid out. Even if a few dozen 9th heaven celestial kings joined forces, it would be difficult for them to damage it the slightest bit. Yet now, this was only a sliver of divine sense, yet caused the powerful fortress to tremble madly, being close to collapsing. What kind of concept was that? Heavenly Venerate! Everyone mouthed these words. The only one who could be so strong had to be Heavenly Venerable Tai. Even the battle between the Imperial Void Celestial King and the Eternity Celestial King and the others stopped. If a Heavenly Venerate descended, even if they were all added together, that would still not be enough. An incredibly enormous face appeared above the clear heaven pass. The clear heaven pass was already big enough, wasn't it? But compared with this face, it paled in comparison, showing just how humongous it was. Ling Han couldn't help but inhale sharply. This was the Heavenly Venerate Chien, a true overlord of the foreign realm. Thankfully, this was not his true self, and merely a sliver of divine sense, but it was still so powerful it could drive others to despair. The Heavenly Venerate was right above them, and the entire clear heaven pass suddenly became incredibly silent. No matter what everyone was doing, at this moment, they all stopped and looked up at the skies. At the same time, the celestial kings were incredibly wary. Though this was Just a sliver of divine sense, and was also being suppressed by the heaven and earth of the celestial realm. It still had the strength of a top-tier ninth heaven celestial king, and even a being like the Imperial Void Celestial King dared not be careless. Hand over the brat that has the origin magic cube. Heavenly Venerate Chien spoke. His tone was even, yet it was filled with supreme authority. If everyone had to adhere to the regulations, then wasn't Heavenly Venerable to which surpassed regulations capable of commanding actions to be done with mere words? Impossible! The Eternity Celestial King immediately refused decisively. Even the Imperial Void Celestial King's expression was cool, appearing disdainful. That was because he, too, wanted the origin magic cube. If Ling Han was handed over, then the time for his breakthrough to the Heavenly Venerable tier would be pushed back. Who knew how much further in time? Stepping over this threshold was not an issue of talent, but more of luck. If that brat is not handed over, I will destroy that neutral zone. However, it would damage the stability of the connecting point of the two realms and give you several tens of billions of years to continue struggling. Heavenly Venerate Chien stated calmly. However, if that brat is handed over, I can swear a Tao oath that we will not invade for an epoch. When these words fell, quite a number of celestial kings looked tempted, and the thoughts of everyone in the whole of clear heaven pass wandered wildly. The word of a Heavenly Venerate was naturally trustworthy. In other words, if the Heavenly Venerate Chien swore a Tao oath, this was completely believable. This was an epoch. Without any exaggeration, even an ascending origin tier could not possibly live for so long, and would have long since been killed by the immortals. Tribulation. In other words, the majority would be able to finish living this life in peace and safety, and could even continue their line for countless generations. Wasn't this the peace that they had always yearned for? It was only sacrificing one person, and it could trade for such a long period of peace for the celestial realm. No matter how they thought about it, this was an extremely profitable matter. Of course, as long as the one to be sacrificed was not themselves. The Imperial Void Celestial King's eyes trembled slightly. He was not concerned about the survival of the celestial realm. What was the most important was if he could become a Heavenly Venerate himself. Youth, do not save a little only to lose a lot, Heavenly Venerate Chien said. Evenly. No one knew what his words meant, but the Imperial Void Celestial King understood. These words were directed towards him, and it implicated the agreement that the sealed emotion Heavenly Venerable and the others had reached with the foreign realm. His hands curled into fists, his hair fluttering freely, nine-colored light flickering. An intense battle was presently taking place in his heart. But after only a while, the Imperial Void Celestial King shouted, and with a quick flash, he soon disappeared from sight. A great ninth heaven Celestial King, and one whose battle prowess could be ranked in the top 3, had been forced off with just mere words, and surrendered an extremely great fortune. I will give you all a day's time to consider. If this boy is still not handed over, after a day, I will make my move, Heavenly Venerate Chien said calmly, and, with a tremor of his figure, he dispersed from sight. Instantly, everyone in clear heaven pass broke into a commotion. They were all engaged in an intense debate. The celestial kings also exchanged looks. This was peace for an entire epoch. And even they were tempted. They truly did hope that Ling Han could become a Heavenly Venerate and lead the resistance against the foreign realm, but he was presently only in immortal palace tier. Even if there were celestial kings pouring their full efforts into nurturing him, becoming a Heavenly Venerate was still something that would only happen who knew how many years later. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.